Party's on Calvo versus Calvo. Step forward, please.
38-year-old Olga Calvo says her brother, 40-year-old administrator Alberto Calvo, sold her car with parts of her husband's wheelchair inside. Alberto says it was towed away.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir. Try to stay awake. Judge, this is number 243 on the calendar in the matter of Calvo versus Calvo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mrs. Calvo, this is your brother?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you and your family were the victims of an armed robbery. And because of the fear that you had staying in your home where the robbery occurred, you called your brother, and he came over, and you moved into his house, or the garage in his house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your suit alleges that when you moved out, you left an old car in front of your brother's house.
That's right.
In the old car were some parts to your husband's wheelchair.
Right.
And when you came back to retrieve it, it was gone. So you believe he sold it.
That's right.
What makes you think he sold it?
Well, when I went back to get the car, I called, and his son said that it was there, but then they came to the motel, and he said it was gone. It was no longer there. He said they impounded the car. But when I called the police, they said it wasn't at the city or the county, so that nobody had it.
Could it have been stolen?
It could have, but he said that it was just gone, that a tow truck took it.
After your brother offered his home to you, why do you think that he would do something like sell your car?
Well, I just want to know where the car was. I needed the car to get around because I have a crippled husband and 2 children. And when I called from the motel, my nephew said, okay, your car's here. But then when they came to the motel, they said it was gone. I don't know. I don't understand where the car is.
You mean on the same day?
Within 5 minutes.
Did you move out of your brother's home on reasonable terms?
Yes, ma'am.
You had never had any problem with your brother before?
No.
Huh. No problem with me?
Shh. Don't talk to her. Don't talk to me. Well, Miss Calvo, my problem is I don't understand what would make you think that your brother, who had been nothing but nice to you and your family, would do something like, what year car was this?
An 87.
Would sell your 11-year-old car that probably wasn't worth much, right?
Well, I had just paid, my father bought it for me. He paid $800 for it, plus a van that we traded in. Plus the wheelchair parts is what was expensive. It's a $7,500 wheelchair. I have a picture of the wheelchair that my husband...
Why didn't you leave the wheelchair parts someplace other than a car that was going to be parked outside for 5 weeks?
We had a lot of things, all our belongings we were moving.
Parts of that wheelchair were at a pawn shop. Part of it were under a beer case of beer.
Where?
In the garage.
Is it still there?
It's a very expensive wheelchair. Her husband is an invalid. He had a stroke, and he has to have a very expensive wheelchair to get around.
Well, then what were the parts to?
That's what I want to know. How can a
assume...
person be so irresponsible, Your Honor? Forgive me for this interruption, but if the wheelchair is so expensive, why would anyone leave parts scattered here and there?
Because those parts were detachable, and we had sometimes we had to move the wheelchair. We would just move the main part, and some parts just happened to stay in the trunk.
What do you know about this car, Mr. Calvo?
What I know about a car is that according to the city ordinances, you cannot leave any vehicle parked in front of a residential street for a certain period of time, Your Honor, which is why the car is no longer there. When she appeared in Houston to retrieve her vehicle, it was not there, and it could not be there.
How do you know it could not be there?
Because it was removed. I don't know who took it.
Well, when did you first see that it was gone?
About a week, maybe a week and a half before she decided to come up unannounced.
It had been there for about a month then?
Yes, 5 weeks. At the 6th week is when she came unannounced, as I say, called my son on the telephone and said, tell your dad that I'm here to pick up the car, which is her first mistake. You don't make any kind of arrangements with minors, never. You talk to an adult.
Just a second.
Talked to my 11-year-old son and told him, tell your dad that I'm going to go pick up the car.
He's 18.
That's besides the point. You're supposed to talk to me on things like that.
Okay.
It's a very
Whatever.
serious matter.
She spoke to one of your children.
That's right. And I've told him, do never make arrangements with an adult. You're not an adult.
she wasn't making arrangements. She said, I'm coming to pick up my car. Did you have your sister's telephone number where she was
Yes,
living?
Your Honor, we did.
Did you call her and let her know that her car had been moved?
No, I did not.
Why not?
It's not my responsibility, Your Honor.
So you were angry with your sister when she left?
Of course I was angry with her.
When she left?
That's right.
Why were you angry with her when she left?
Because of her behavior,
Like what?
irresponsible behavior, reckless behavior, abandonment
Of what?
of her responsibilities. Many of these things would not have occurred to her had she been a person of serious character, Your Honor. But some of her choice of friends is not very good.
He's going off the track.
No, you say that you left under good circumstances. I'm trying to figure out why your brother...
Because he's money
What's-
hungry. He always has been. He wants money. What else? Why would he sell my car? He knew I didn't have a car.
But I don't know
I
whether...
did not sell the car, Your Honor.
Where is it?
It's gone. It's probably smashed into a box about the
Mr.
cube,
Cal,
about that
do
small.
you have the registration for this car?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
You have the registration for this car. So if he sold the car, he would have had to have forged some sort of a document of sale. Do you understand that, Ms. Calvo?
You can sell cars without registration.
How?
People buy them all the time.
Well, did you sell it without a
No,
registration?
I didn't sell it without registration. Or with, or without. But I'm telling you that it has been done.
That's helpful. I'm sure it has been done, but it's illegal.
Of course.
How old are you, sir?
40 years old.
Have you ever been in jail?
Yes.
For what?
Traffic tickets.
How long were you in jail for traffic tickets?
Oh, about 24 hours.
Traffic tickets that you didn't pay,
That's right.
where there were outstanding warrants?
That's right.
When did that happen?
Oh, what's last year, 97?
Prior to that?
I can't remember prior to that.
You can't remember whether you were in jail
I can't
prior?
remember the year.
But you were in jail prior to that. For what?
For the same thing.
Traffic tickets.
Traffic
What do you
tickets.
have against paying traffic tickets?
Nothing. When the bills mount up so high, you know, economically it becomes impossible.
When you get them, you're supposed to pay them. That way they don't pile up.
That's a very good fact.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They were not there the day that I left.
What does that have to do with
Who
anything?
could I
You
leave
didn't
the keys
entrust.
to? Throw them in the tree and just let them hang there? I mean, I had to give
Then
them
you sue
somebody.
the tree.
And later today,
And Mr. Connors then was taking a shower every 8 days, and the toothbrush got wet every 5 days.
Then you left.
The police took him out.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Olga Calvo claims her brother, Alberto Calvo, sold her car with parts of her husband's wheelchair inside.
Ms. Calvo,
Yes, ma'am.
this is sad but not a difficult case. You believe that your brother sold your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't sell your car. He's not responsible for your car because you left it out in the street, right?
Yes.
You didn't leave him with any of the indicia of ownership, license, registration. In order for me to believe your theory that he sold it, I would have to believe that he broke the law in selling the car because he sold it, and he had no right to do that because he wasn't the legal owner of the car. So in order to believe you, I have to believe that your brother committed a criminal act, right?
But I left the car in his care.
Did she leave the keys with you?
She left that car telling my younger son, who is 16, that he can have the car.
That's a
Just a second.
blunt-faced lie.
Just a second. Did he, in fact, your 16-year-old son, take the car?
No, he cannot take the car.
Now, according to you, you did not entrust the keys to the car, if I believed you, to the defendant. You entrusted the keys to the car to his son.
The 18-year-old son.
Whatever, 16, 18.
Okay.
18 doesn't help you out a lot.
Okay.
16 might help you out a little bit, but not 18, so you left the car keys with an 18-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
It is possible that the 18-year-old sold the car. Is that possible?
It's possible, but I doubt it.
But it's possible.
It's possible.
No,
It's
I don't
possible.
appreciate-
Shh. I'm not speaking to you.
Well, I don't appreciate.
I'm not speaking to you. Is it possible that the 18-year-old has the car?
It's possible.
Well, Ms. Calvo, if all those things are possible, how can I ultimately find in your favor with regard to your lawsuit against this defendant?
Because I entrusted it to him.
No, you didn't, Miss Calvo. You entrusted it to someone else.
Well, the reason that happened was because they were not there the day that I left.
What does that have to do with
Who
anything?
could I
You didn't
leave the
entrust.
keys to? Throw them in the tree and just let them hang there? I mean, I had to give
Then
them
you sue the tree if you throw it in a tree. But right now, you didn't entrust the keys to Mr. Calvo. You entrusted them, according to you, to some 18-year-old, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're suing the wrong person if you have a lawsuit at all. This case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Well, I think I should have left the keys with one of the adults, and I didn't, so there's no hard feelings.
I'm sorry that she had a traumatic experience. If you would have been there, you would have seen how much she suffered. But she must learn responsibility.
It's okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Clift versus Connor. Step forward, please.
73-year-old Maddie Cliff is suing her ex-husband, Paul Connors, 65, for the cost of a bed and her share of a joint bank account.
Miss Clift, the defendant is your former husband.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you marry him?
May 95.
And how long did you live together?
Not quite 2 years.
You're suing him for a bid and for part of a joint bank account.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about the bid.
The night we were married, came home, and it started right that night. And I asked him what was wrong. He said nothing. There's 2 women at the wedding who has eyes for me. I'm tired, good night. He left and went to bed. I slept in the bedroom for a little while, and not very long. If I accidentally touched him, he kicked me. Then there came a time where he slept, got on top of the bed, of the bedspread, if he was out mowing the lawn, and after a few days, it was a whole gray outline on top of the bedspread. I said, it's so much easier to do the sheets, pull the bedspread down. He wouldn't do it. And he would go across the bed so I couldn't get in. So I slept on the floor for 6 weeks with 2 bedspreads. That's all I had. We went out on our anniversary to Rhode Island for shrimp. And because we had a medley of shrimp, I thought I had food poisoning, because right after that, I couldn't move. I was hurting so bad, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I wasn't able to sleep. And finally, I couldn't stand the floor no longer. It was so painful. And Mr. Connors then was taking a shower every 8 days, and the toothbrush got wet every 5 days. He'd sit in front of the TV.
So you bought a bed for you to sleep in, is that
No,
the
he didn't.
No, you bought a bed for you to sleep in.
I put it in the living room so I could sleep.
So you bought yourself a bed while you were married and you slept in the living room.
Yes.
Now, when you left him, he says you took this bed with you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's get to the joint bank account. How much money did you put into this joint account?
I think at the time, I was getting $632, but then I went on his insurance, so I was getting $712.
So you're talking about your Social Security.
Yes.
So
And a
you
small
put your
pension.
Social Security into a joint account, and he put his Social Security into a joint account.
Yes.
And from that, you paid household bills.
I bought all my own food.
I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about, you lived in a mobile home? Was that purchased or was it leased?
We purchased it.
So was the mortgage payment made from this joint account?
Yes.
And you had gas and electric and telephone?
Yes.
And all that was paid for out of the joint account?
For a while, yes. Well, yes.
Then you left?
I
Or
didn't leave.
separated? You separated?
The police took him out.
Police took him out?
Yep.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're in the golden years of your life. Have a good time. Stop dwelling in the past.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maddie Cliff is suing her ex-husband, Paul Connors, for the cost of her bed and her share of a joint bank account.
Can I please see the judgment of divorce? The most important section of this says, the personal property of the marriage has been, left out a word here, resolved to the satisfaction of the parties but the husband shall have his paint, alternator, and other personal property of the husband. The husband shall have access to the shed to remove his personal property, so stated in paragraph 8. You signed this.
Yes. This is the list he made.
I don't care about the list he made. You signed this, and if you weren't satisfied with it, you should not have signed it. But not only did you sign it, you were represented by an attorney when you signed it. Now, Mr. Khanna.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are counterclaiming because you say that when she moved out of the house, she took a whole bunch of property.
She took all the contents of the home, including down to the curtains and the curtain rods, everything within the home she took with her. And along with that, she had threatened and put a letter and sent a letter to my immediate family that was quite detrimental to me.
What kind of letter did she send to your
It's a
family?
5-page letter, Your Honor. I have a copy of it here with me.
Can I see it, please?
Certainly, Your Honor. This was sent to all my immediate family.
All right, well, Mr. Connors, this letter really just has a whole litany of complaints against you, that you were not a terrific husband and also not very neat.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was no need, Ms. Cliff, for you to send this kind of letter, airing the grievances that you had with regard to your former husband to any of his family. It is not actionable. I mean, the fact that you got chocolate all over the furniture and left crumbs all over the place, and what happened in the bedroom certainly was nobody's business but the two of you. And this was a mistake. Clearly, it was a mistake. I mean, the two of you, probably very nice people who tried to have another relationship, and it just didn't work out. Put a period and get on with your lives. You know, you're in the golden years of your life. Have a good time. Stop dwelling in the past.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm dismissing your complaint. I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Go out, enjoy the rest of your lives, hopefully in peace and
Your Honor,
separately from each other.
He
What?
took all the checking account. Why?
Listen to me. Your judgment of divorce provided in paragraph 8 that all issues of personal property were resolved by the parties. I do not intend to revisit that issue. The Superior Court of the state of Massachusetts ruled on that in a document that you signed and your attorney signed. If you're not happy about it, go back to your attorney. Say to your attorney, I was under duress, it was fraud, whatever it is, I want you to reopen my divorce. But I'll tell you now, Miss Clift, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell, because every other part of this judgment of divorce that I went through was complied with by him. And you're complaining about one of them, the personal property, and I'm telling you that I am not revisiting that. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
God will get him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's going to suffer.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Your wife works for your father and you do nothing.
I do help him out, but he doesn't pay me, he pays her.
All designed to avoid your child support.
No.
I think I was born yesterday.
Judge Judy Justice.
He'll get his. And I'm the third woman he's done this to. The first one died.
Judge Judy had a picture of me that she put in my mailbox that had a crossbone in my forehead and an axe in my head.
He's a chronic liar. He has a problem.
I had gone out earlier in the evening, and she physically nailed the door shut instead of just turning the little knob on the door.
He's got some real nasty hygiene problems. He really is nasty.
Parties on Besmirtnik versus Newsom. Step forward, please.
29-year-old James Besmirtnik says his ex-wife's fiancé, 33-year-old Bob Newsom, hit him in the face and damaged a storm door during a child visitation exchange. Bob Newsom is countersuing for supporting James's daughter.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 226 on the calendar in the matter of Besmirtnik versus Newsom.
Waybird.
Fine, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Besmirtnik, it appears that you are the father of a child. This is your former wife?
That's correct.
You are the current fiancé of the former wife.
That's true.
Your suit alleges, sir, that this gentleman assaulted you during a visitation with your daughter.
That's correct.
That he hit you in the face, hurt your eye. You are countersuing because you say that you have provided support that the plaintiff was supposed to provide for the child, and because he hasn't been providing that support for the child, you have.
That's true.
When were you divorced from this lady?
I don't remember the actual date. I would say probably around
Give me
June,
a month and a year.
Probably around June of June of 97.
A decade.
June of 97, I believe.
June of 97. And when were you married? What month and year? To her.
To her, December 3rd.
Of what year?
96.
So you were married not for a long time.
Correct.
And your daughter had been born already?
Yes.
When you got married. How old is your daughter? 5?
She's 8 now.
8. You have visitation with her?
Yes, I do.
Is that pursuant to a judgment of divorce?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you arranged for visitation, sir, with your former wife on this particular weekend. And what was the arrangement that you made with your former wife?
The arrangement that her and I had made, we discussed that evening as I was picking my daughter up, that she would be coming back out to pick my daughter up that Sunday, the day the incident occurred.
This was a weekend visitation.
That's correct.
And you spoke to your former wife, and the arrangement was for you to pick your daughter up.
That's correct.
And did you?
Yes, I did.
And that was on Friday or Saturday?
That was on a Friday. The
And she
17th.
was supposed to be returned on Sunday.
That's correct.
What time?
There was really no preset time that her and I had discussed. Usually when she came out to pick her up, it was between 6 and 8 o'clock that evening.
And was the formal arrangement that you worked out with your wife, you would pick her up and your former wife would come and get her about 6 or 8 o'clock?
That's correct.
Tell me what happened on this particular weekend.
That Sunday, I had called my ex-wife approximately around 6 p.m. that evening to find out when she was going to be coming out to pick her up, because we were getting ready to make arrangements to have her sit down and eat dinner, and we were going to have her go visit her grandparents for a couple minutes before she said goodbye. Then we were going to bring her back over to my house and for her to pick her up that evening.
About what time?
Well, we never discussed on the telephone what time she was going to be coming out. Just that I had called and asked her if she was still coming out, and at that time when I spoke to her on the phone, she said no.
You said to her, "Are you still coming out?"
Basically,
That's what you just said.
I
Are you
asked her-
still coming out? And she said no.
That's correct.
And what did you say?
I asked her why, and she said it was because of the fact that I was failure to pay her child support as ordered by the court.
So she said, "You're not paying child support. You pick up the child and bring the child home."
Right.
Is that what you're telling me?
Basically, in a roundabout way, yes.
Okay. So did you?
No. The reason why is because my wife, we were waiting on her ex-boyfriend to bring her son home to our house that evening. We weren't sure of the time when he was going to be there. He had never called to say that he was going to be coming down to drop his son off, and at what time or anything. So at the time we only had one vehicle, and because her ex-boyfriend didn't know where her parents lived or where her sister lived, there would be no way that he'd be able to drop her off other than at our house.
So he was dropped. Just a second. I'm a little confused here. Your wife's ex-boyfriend was dropping off her son.
Her son, correct.
So what did you need a car for if he was dropping off the son?
To be able to transport my daughter back to their house.
Well, that's what we're talking about. I mean, you had a car
Right.
that wasn't needed because the other child in your house was being dropped off by that child's father. So you had a car.
Yes.
So why didn't you, when she said, I'm not picking up our daughter, you bring her home, why didn't you just bring her home? So
Well-
don't give me a lot of excuses that don't make sense, sir. You just got annoyed, right?
No, I wasn't. It had nothing to do with annoyance.
Well, then why didn't you do it?
It's because of the fact that her son, and also because of the fact that she said that we had agreed to, or prior to
Forget
that.
the son. Forget your wife's son. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
We just came and put a period to that argument. He was being dropped off. You didn't need a car. You had a car. You could have taken your daughter home. You decided not to take her home. And it was because you say she broke a prior agreement that she would come and pick the child up.
Right.
Is it true you haven't paid child support?
That's correct.
Why not?
Right now, I'm still currently unemployed.
How long have you been still currently unemployed?
Since March or April of this year.
And prior to that, what kind of work did you do?
Prior to that, I was a computer repair technician.
Did you pay support in February, sir?
At that time, when I was working, no, there was no payments being made because I wasn't working really that long. I was probably
All
working
right,
for a
so
month.
when you were working, you weren't paying support, and now that you're not working, you're not paying support. How do you support yourself? What?
Well, through help from my parents. And we're doing odd jobs on the side, too.
That's right. You can understand why your former wife is annoyed that you're not contributing to your child's support, can't you?
Yes, I do, and I understand that.
Good. Now that we got through with that, now let's get back to this Sunday. So on Sunday, according to these papers, between, say, 10 and 11 o'clock at night, they did show up to pick up your daughter.
That's correct.
Tell me what happened.
From where they live, from work to my house, it's roughly about an hour drive. And about 9 o'clock, I waited. No arrival, no phone call. 10 o'clock, same thing. So about 10:30, I had set my security alarm and was prepared to take my daughter to bed when about 11 o'clock, I received a knock on the door. I turned off the alarm, walked over to the door. It's my ex-wife at the door, and she said, where's my daughter? I woke her up. She gathered her things together, put her in the car, came back to the house, and basically words were exchanged, and that's when the door was kicked.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Once I am employed, which will...
You are employed!
And until
you just let somebody else take your pay.
Right, in October...
Right, I know right.
October...
I know right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Besmertnik claims his ex-wife's fiancé, Bob Newsom, hit him in the face for no reason.
Now let's hear about this assault, sir.
Words were exchanged.
With whom?
Actually between myself, my ex-wife, and with the defendant. And that's when he came over to me and hit me in the eye.
And you weren't doing anything?
No. I did nothing to provoke it.
Do you have a doctor's report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You paid $5 for these visits, sir, out of total charges that were much more than that. Do you have some sort of insurance?
No.
Well, how do you pay for these visits?
My wife was the one that wrote the checks for those visits.
Does your wife have health insurance?
The only insurance that she has is medical insurance through, I believe, Franklin County.
Does she receive welfare?
Yes.
She get food stamps?
No.
How does she support herself?
Right now, she is working until the baby's born. She's working for my father,
She's working for your father doing what?
delivering automotive parts.
So what you're trying to tell me, sir, is that your wife works and you don't?
No, she's the one that volunteered.
No. What you're
But yes,
telling me
that's
is
correct.
your wife works for your father
That's correct.
off the books.
That I don't know.
Of course you do.
No, I don't.
Your wife works for your father off the books. She collects some sort of welfare, and you do nothing. You don't work for your father. She must have a better relationship with your father than you do.
Well, actually, I do help him out, but he doesn't pay me. He pays her.
All designed to avoid your child support.
No.
Well, it certainly is successful in avoiding your child support, sir, because if you were working for your father on the books and he was paying you instead of paying your wife for work you did, the state would come in and take out some money and pay your former wife some child support. Isn't that a fair statement?
That is correct.
Perfect. I think I was born yesterday. Huh?
But you stayed up all night, right?
Yeah, right. Thank you, Bert. That was good. All right, Mr. Newsom, tell me just about the assault, sir. I'm ready to hear your version of the assault.
Okay. We got to the house. We were at the front door. Mrs. Besmertnik advised us that we were not going to take the child.
You mean his present wife?
Yes, Sherry.
Okay.
She informed us that we were not taking Brittany. We might as well go on back to Zanesville because we couldn't have her. I grabbed a hold of the door. She grabbed a hold of the door from the inside. And when I kicked the bottom of the door, it bent the bottom of the door in. I pulled the door open, told Vicky to go in and get her child and put her in the car. Sherry was arguing with us about the child support, told us we had no right to expect child support. It was a privilege and not a right. Some words were exchanged. We did get an argument. James started yelling some profanities at Vicky, his ex-wife. I kind of tried to get between them because I didn't want anything to happen. He went over to the corner of his living room, got a walking stick type of a crooked-looking stick thing, come across the living room at me with it and said, "I'll take care of this," picked up the stick like he was going to hit me with it, and I hit him in the eye.
Were you present?
Yes.
Step up here. Tell me what you saw at the time of the assault.
I had just come back in the house, and Sherry was still standing at the door, and he was standing on the other side of the living room. Him and I began to argue, and her and
What were you arguing about?
About that day when I talked to him on the phone. I told him, I'm not coming to get her. As long as I'm providing all necessities, he can at least provide his own visitation.
His own transportation.
His own transportation for the visitation.
That sounds right to me.
Well, we were arguing about that, and I told him, I said, next time.
I mean, you don't have to get up early to go to work in the morning, right? Go ahead.
So, him and I were arguing, and him and I were ready to fight.
Okay.
And that's when those two got into it. He stepped in between us, and he walked over and he got the stick. And he was calling me some horrible names, calling him some horrible names, and he hit him.
Okay. Tell me about this support that you provide for Brittany, Mr. Newsom.
I was carrying her on my health insurance, taking her to doctor's visits, taking her to dentist visits.
Your judgment of divorce provide that you're supposed to pay 50% of the child's unreimbursed medical expenses?
That I don't know. It just says that both of us, either one of us has to get medical insurance to cover our daughter.
And the one who provides it, the other one has to pay half.
That's correct.
You've left that out. You leave out everything, sir, that involves you paying. So how much have you paid?
The medical coverage, when they approached me and informed me about medical coverage, I had asked my ex-wife, I said, could you make me a copy of the medical bills? Because I'm not going to take her word on the monetary value at face value unless I could see actual documented proof that that's how much the medical bills cost.
And then you're prepared to pay them?
Once I am employed, which will be...
You are employed!
And until
you just let somebody else take your pay.
Right, in October...
Right, I know right. I know right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your daughter was expecting you those weekends.
Yes.
And you just didn't show up.
That's correct.
Oh, you are some winner.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. James Besmertnik wants his ex-wife's fiancé, Bob Newsom, to pay for hitting him in the face and destroying a storm door. Bob wants James to pay him for supporting his daughter.
At the time these bills were paid, you personally paid for these bills, sir. Not your fiancé. You paid for them. Is that
I paid for them because she was only working part-time.
You're a nice guy. You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have a 9-year-old and we have a 2-year-old.
Do you support your 9-year-old?
Yes, I do. Every week.
You current in your child support?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an automotive technician.
Oh, where's the trusting calculator, Bert? Do me a favor, sir. Would you add up these bills that are just marked for Brittany? Okay? Thank you. You seem to indicate in your answer that the plaintiff comes irregularly for visitation.
Yes.
Is that true, sir, that you come irregularly to pick up your daughter for visitation?
Every Friday was one, or every other Friday was when I'm supposed to pick her up.
That's not what I asked you. I know when you're supposed to pick her up according to you. Do you come every other Friday to pick your daughter up for visitation?
Yes, I do. Unless we had agreed that they were going to keep her that weekend to take her someplace or have something special planned for her that weekend, then another arrangement would be made.
So according to you, there have been no weekends when you've disappointed the child by not showing up?
No, not that I remember.
Is that correct?
He has not. He saw her for 5 days in July. Prior to that, he had not seen her since April, and visitation prior to that point was sporadic at best.
What happened between
Maybe
April
once every
and
couple
July,
months.
sir?
April and July, basically, there was a conflict between my ex-wife and I, and rather than try to go out there and deal with another argument or deal with the situation, I decided it would be best for my daughter not to see that argument, and decided not to be there to pick her up.
And how did you communicate that to your daughter, who's 8 years old?
I didn't.
So as far as you knew, your daughter was expecting you those weekends,
Yes,
and you just didn't show up.
that's correct.
Oh, you are some winner.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. Being a judge requires evaluating people's credibility. Credibility comes in many forms. One of the things that we look to is common sense. Common sense, and whether a witness has been perfectly candid and forthcoming in other testimony, which I find you have not been, sir. It sounds to me as if you are a classic example of a deadbeat father who had a child, who chooses not to support that child, and whatever money that you are going to make from now on is going to go to your new family. That's a decision that clearly you made, and it's clearly a decision that your wife made. I say that because the facts are evident. They came out of your own mouth after some prodding that you do, in fact, work. You probably are employed on a full-time basis. You work for your father off the books, and whatever money is supposed to be paid to you is paid to your wife in order to avoid your child support. So that all sounds to me pretty devious and underhanded. Therefore, I don't believe your story that out of the blue he came over and socked you in the eye. I think that in all probability, you did pick up a stick or something in your house, and while you may not have hit him with it first, he had cause to believe that you were about to assault him and defended himself, so I'm dismissing your lawsuit. Now on your counterclaim, you have a responsibility to support your daughter. That's what the law says. It's the law, and it's also the right thing to do. You, on the other hand, Mr. Newsom, do not have an obligation to support this child. And I believe that you are entitled to be compensated for what you have actually spent for the child, which comes to $532. So on your counterclaim, sir, I am awarding you $532. And you, sir, goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
On Ramos versus Taylor. Step forward, please.
30-year-old Diana Ramos says she met mortgage broker Mark Taylor in a nightclub and later loaned him money, which he never repaid.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Excuse me. They don't care. Judges number 179 on the calendar in the matter of Ramos versus Taylor.
I care, Bird.
Okay. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
All right, Miss Ramos, for some reason that I don't understand that you're going to tell me, you lent this man some money.
Yes, ma'am.
You say you have a note to prove it.
Yes, I do.
He says he paid you,
No, he hasn't.
and that he can prove it. So first, Ms. Ramos, you want to tell me why you lent him money in the first place, how much you lent him, and when he was supposed to pay you back.
I loaned him $700.
When?
This was in May.
Why?
I felt sorry for him
Why?
because he told me that he needed money to pay rent.
Well, how long had you known him before you gave him the $700?
I met him earlier that month
Where?
at a bar.
Did you, other than just meeting him at the bar, did you become friends? Did you date?
Yes, friends.
Just friends? From the time you met him at the bar until the time you gave him the $700, how many times did you see him?
Quite a few times.
2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times?
Probably about 10 times.
Where did you see him? I'm trying to figure out why you would lend him $700.
Where did I see him?
Yeah.
I would call him, and then we made arrangements to for my mortgage loan.
Is that your business, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
You're a mortgage broker?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been a mortgage broker?
2.5 years.
How many mortgages have you brokered?
I probably, on an estimate, if the market's doing good, about 10 to 15 a month, if I'm lucky.
And you've been lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah? So what'd you need $700 for from her?
Well, what happened, basically, is I met her and her friend at a bar, okay? I was talking to the friend at first, and then I told her, I said, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'd like to talk to you, but no dice. Well, this continued. We called each other for lunch. We seen each other for lunch, and she's kicking it with me and everything. And
She's what?
She's hanging out with me. You know, we went to lunch together. We were sitting there talking.
Did you say she's kicking it?
Yeah, that's just what she's doing. So, you know, to make a long story short, we got to talking about some personal things, and we made an agreement. She said she didn't have to go back to work. We went to the house. We spent the night with each other, okay? It's not 10 or 15 times. She's at my house every day. She took me to work every day. So what was happening is during this time, I left one company to start another one. They were having some problems with their payroll, so I asked her to do me a favor. She did it, and I said, no problem, I would pay her back. She's saying I never gave her any money. I did give her a form of $200 in cash when they had paid me, okay? During this time...
Prove it.
Oh, well, you know, she knows I gave it to her, and I'm not gonna fight that. But during this time, I made an agreement with her. I told her, I said, well, Diana, check this out. I have a compensation agreement. I could lower my fees and what I'm gonna charge you for the loan. And if you take that form of payment that way, you know, then I won't owe you anything. She agreed to it. Okay, then the holiday kicked off. 4th of July, she calls me up, 911 on my pager. I call her back. So she's telling me that her daughter, okay, who was leaving to go to San Antonio, had told her boyfriend about us and everything. So the boyfriend's on the phone, and he's raising sand and this, that, and the other.
Raising
I asked her, you know,
kicking in.
basically...
Just a second, let me get this. I like to learn something new every day, sir. Kicking in.
Kicking it.
Kicking
it.
Kicking it.
Kicking it, and raising sand.
Yeah.
Raising sand. In English.
In other words, he's being very hostile.
Shh.
Order.
Okay? He's being very hostile about this situation that he's been told about me and her being together and sleeping with each other. So I asked her, what do you want me to do? And she said, well, I don't want you to tell him. I said, you know that's gonna cost you. Okay, she agreed to it. I said, you know that's gonna cost you to keep my mouth shut because I was getting tired of being the number 2 guy.
Let me try to understand this in English. You say that the loan that she made to you of $700 was forgiven by her because you agreed to, just don't shake your head anything, I'm just trying to understand this, because you agreed to keep your mouth shut and not tell her boyfriend that you had slept with her.
Exactly.
Exactly! Mr. Taylor, kicking it, I didn't understand. Raising sand?
Raising sand.
Raising sand, I don't understand. But I want to ask you if you understand the following phrase. Did you ever hear this phrase? Blackmail.
No, I wasn't blackmailing her. Not at all, because she asked me not to tell him. When she called me, I asked her what was this about. She said, Jennifer told John
Gotcha, I understand
what's going
that.
on. Okay, so I wasn't blackmailing anyone.
Somebody told the boyfriend, according to you, I'm not even going to ask you if this is true, but somebody told the boyfriend, she asked you not to confirm that with the boyfriend.
Yes.
And you said, I'll do it. I'll tell him it's not true if you forgive this loan.
It wasn't in part of the loan. When I said you're going to pay for that, it had nothing to do with,
well,
with
I
the
don't
loan
understand. What is
part
the
of
pay? Are you going to pay for this? What did that mean?
In other words, what I meant to her, she was going to pay for it, is that we were going to have a long talk about me having to, you know, bow down and not tell him what really was going on. Because the thing about it was, I felt like I was going to pay for it, because when I seen him...
Were you, just a second, Mr. Taylor, were you hurt and offended, sir?
Yeah, I was.
Were you mortally wounded?
No.
No. You don't look as if you were mortally wounded, sir.
Oh, I wasn't?
It doesn't appear to me as if you were mortally wounded, sir. So let me understand this. You had, according to you, an evening of frolic with the plaintiff.
It was more
Plus,
than an evening.
Let's say 2 evenings. Let's
no,
say 5 evenings.
every night for the last
Every
3
night.
weeks.
You had every night of frolic with the plaintiff.
Yeah.
And she had every night of frolic with you.
There you go.
Good. And you have her $700.
No. Wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wanted a relationship with me. And I didn't want anything to do with him.
You're right. It takes 2 to tango. She had to do something.
And later today,
I don't think that it's right for anybody to slash anybody's tires. So if you did that, that was really, really wrong. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very, very bad.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mortgage broker Mark Taylor claims Diana Ramos is angry that he broke off their secret affair. Diana says she just wants her money back.
Did he give you the $200?
No.
Did he give you any money?
Yes.
How much?
100.
Okay. Could you prove that you gave her more than $100, sir?
No, because at the time...
All right, so let's say you now owe her $600.
That's not what the case was.
Just a second. How much money did you pay her back?
I gave her $100 in cash, and then I gave her on 2 occasions $50. So it's totaling to $200, and she knows it because she took me to cash the checks when I gave it to her.
Assuming that that's true, that you gave her $200, where's the other 5?
I agreed to, as a part of this mortgage loan, because I have a compensation agreement on her, as well as a good faith estimate that was provided, and a mortgage origination statement. And I said, look, I'll deduct the difference of the money of what I owe you off the fees. I didn't hear anything else about it.
Did you agree to it? Did you agree to that?
No.
Did you buy this house?
No.
She's still
You didn't buy the house?
No, I didn't agree to anything.
Well, so what did she get from it, sir?
It's to be determined.
Just a second. She didn't buy the house. She didn't use the mortgage.
She's still pending. It's to be determined. She was purchasing a new home. All I was doing was creating the financing. She knew that she needed to go out and find a home. And I have the compensation agreement that's still good on you to the 3rd of October right here, that this is what was going to be performed up until those calendar days.
Right now, she didn't do anything. She didn't agree to anything. You owe her the money, sir. Did you ever hear the expression? You heard kicking it? Mm-hmm. Sanding, what? Sanding?
Raising sand.
Raising sand, right?
She
Did you ever
agreed to
hear,
that.
don't mix business with pleasure?
Of
Did you ever
course.
hear that? So, don't mix business with pleasure, sir. You borrowed money from somebody as a friend because you were between paychecks. Mm-hmm. And then you wanted to have a sort of work it off on this thing,
No.
on this agreement that you had.
I told her she could take that or I would pay her back. And even on a promissory note, asked her to provide a promissory note to you because I told her that if I didn't agree to pay her by the 17th of July, that we would make arrangements to have it settled. I did not hear from Mrs. Ramos. The next thing,
You acknowledged, sir, that you had to sign a promissory note.
right, but
That you signed it. Let me see the note.
She has
Here,
it.
let me see the note, please. You were supposed to pay her, sir, half by the 17th of July. Did you pay her half?
Correct. No.
Good. Then you defaulted.
That's because she had made other arrangements with me prior to that date.
I don't believe you.
Okay. Well,
I don't believe you.
ask
I
her.
don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you. And I don't believe you. I
Then
think
when I was served the paper, she documented on there that she failed to call me. That is not what the case was. She called my place of employment and personally put this through someone else. I called her place of employment, told them, look, we're having a personal problem over something. I would like for her
it's
not
not a personal problem, sir. She lent you $700. You were supposed to pay for it 2.5 months ago. You didn't pay for it. And then you started to do a tap dance. A, you said, I won't tell your boyfriend, but it's going to cost you.
No, that
B,
wasn't
that's according
the
to
case.
you. You said that 2 seconds ago, sir.
Yeah.
B, we'll work it out in this deal. I'll take less in my commission. I'll take less in my commission than I would ordinarily charge you, and we'll call it even. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Taylor, if a friend lends you $700 in your time of need, you ought to do this mortgage agreement for no commission.
No.
No, listen to me, sir. For nothing. If you were in a bind, if you were in a bind, as you were, I'm sure that you wouldn't go and ask this lady for money if you weren't really in a bind. And she helped you.
That's not how that went off.
It would seem to me, that's what you said. You said I was between checks
Yeah,
and I needed some help.
She volunteered to do it.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused.
Yeah.
Step out.
You got your money back, but you know you was doing me and doing John at the same time. Ask him, bring him down here, he'll tell you. John, if you get to see this, buddy, like I told you in Texaco, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Have a good one.
And now the next case.
All parties on Taylor versus Lee. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend Fred Lee because he didn't pay his phone bill. He says Crystal slashed his tires.
This used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, it did.
That's past tense.
Yes, it's past.
Your complaint says you let him put a phone in your name.
Yes.
Big mistake.
I know now.
He didn't pay the bill?
No, he didn't. He didn't pay a couple of bills.
And the total on that phone is now?
$967 and some change.
And you say?
I intended on paying the phone bill, but she came up to my job and slashed 3 of my tires. So that's when I decided not to pay the bill, because the three tires that she slashed, the 3 tires that she slashed came up to $340 a piece, which was over $1,200.
I read that in your answer, that you paid $350 a piece for tires.
Why didn't you get some cheaper ones?
Hey, don't speak to him.
Okay.
Bird, I haven't bought tires in a while, and I know about inflation. Did you ever hear of tires that cost $350 a piece?
Not on any vehicle out of it.
What kind of car is it that you drive, sir?
An Acura Legend Coupe, a very expensive car, and the wheels are very expensive too.
You mean, when did you buy these tires, sir?
May 6th.
Why didn't you pay the phone bill instead of buying the tires?
Exactly.
Shut! Hey!
Okay.
Do I look like I need help? I would suggest you be quiet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you're winning, you're supposed to be quiet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you owe somebody, you can find yourself a 1965 VW Bug with $50 tires and make sure that your obligations are paid for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend Fred Lee because he didn't pay his phone bill. He says Crystal slashed his tires.
Why didn't you pay the phone bill instead of buying $350 tires for your Acura?
The phone bill wasn't due at that time.
Yeah, oh.
When the phone bill came...
No, just a second. The phone bill was over an extended period of time, Mr. Lee. Are you telling me that you paid the phone bill each month and that it was 1 month that it was $967?
No, actually it was...
Let me see the phone bills. How many times did you pay the phone bill, sir?
I paid the phone bill a couple of times.
How
actually.
many is a couple?
I don't know, 3,
How-
4, 5 times.
Let me see
I
proof
don't
of
have
it.
the exact
Let me
proof.
see you. Let
I
me
don't
see your
have
proof.
at all.
All right.
Basically, I went tit for tat. The bill came, she slashed my tires. I felt
Okay.
we were even.
Let me explain something to you, sir.
Okay,
Let's talk about her bill, her April bill.
okay.
The prior balance that you owed in April was 80 bucks.
Yeah,
Then you had a Pacific Bell charge for $355.21. That's in April. In June, sir, the current charges on your phone were $163.
okay.
But the total due was $967.90, with a prior unpaid balance of $804.58. So it doesn't look to me as if you ever paid this bill. Ever. Now, you never paid the bill.
I was gonna pay the bill.
Listen, did you ever hear the expression, shoulda, woulda, coulda?
Yeah.
I should have done that. I
She
could
shouldn't have
done
slashed my tires.
Just
Okay,
a second. Just a second. Did you see her slash your tires?
I have a witness. but
Did
he-
you see her slash your tires?
I was at work
Good.
doing my job.
Listen, I don't think that it's right for anybody to slash anybody's tires.
Especially at the amount that I paid.
Absolutely right. Now, because that would be, if you did that, if you
She
did that,
did.
shut.
She did.
If you did that, it
did.
would be taking the law in your own hands.
Which
Do you
she
want-
did.
Hey. So if you did that, that was really, really wrong to slash his $350 a piece tires that he bought instead of paying the phone bill, which is in your name. That would have been a very, very bad thing to do. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very, very bad. But he doesn't have any proof that you did that. He thinks that you did that,
She
but
told
he
me
doesn't
she
have
did.
any proof.
Why would I tell you I slashed your tires?
You told me.
I didn't tell you
Oh,
that.
I don't believe
and
that.
we're not
Shay,
in court for them
told me.
tires. We're
Shay.
not in court for that.
Miss Taylor,
You will be.
if you open your
won't.
mouth again, you're going to be a very unhappy person.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
It was very bad of you to buy 3 new tires when you had this outstanding bill, sir.
I had to drive my car. I had to get back and forth to work.
Oh.
I had to buy them.
Well, I want to tell you something, sir. I guarantee you, whatever work you do, I make more money than you do, and I don't drive an Acura with $350 a piece tires. So if you owe somebody for a phone bill that's in their name, you can find yourself a 1965 VW Bug, drive it around, right, with $50 tires, and make sure that your obligations are paid for. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $967. Thank you very much. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
He was no good. I just want to let all the girls in LA know Brad is no good. That's that.
Okay.
That's that.
I'm very good. I'm definitely somebody else's game. So, all you women in LA, I am single.
Parties on Ruda versus Hicks. Step forward, please.
account manager Ronald Reuter is suing his ex-wife, Laura Hicks, and his son, Adam, 15, for the return of his computer.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 298 on the calendar in the matter of Reuter versus Hicks. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Young man, why don't you have a seat, please? Mr. Reuter, you and the defendant had been married. You are divorced for many years now. How many children did you have?
One.
And this is your son,
That's correct.
whose name is?
Adam.
According to your complaint, Adam had been living with you for several years.
Correct.
And there came a time recently when he decided to move back to his mother's home.
That's correct.
And when he left, he took your computer
That's correct.
without your permission.
That's correct.
You want it back.
He called me up and asked me if he could have the computer, and I said no. I understand that you want it, but it's my computer. It's a very expensive computer.
Okay, let me stop you right there. How long had he been living with you?
About 5 years.
Why did he decide to move back with his mother?
We had a falling out. He was failing the freshman year in high school. I was trying to encourage him, perhaps probably pressuring him too much, to do better, to work, and try to do better, because it's going to make a big difference later on. And he was not getting it. I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do. Basically, he failed 4 out of 6 classes in freshman, and then got him signed up for summer school to make up some of those classes.
This past summer?
That's right. And then after 3 days, he quit that and decided to go live with his mother, saying that, well, if nothing else, I can always get my GED.
And it was from his mother's house that he called you and said, I want the computer?
That's correct.
And you told him you can't have it?
That's right. And the conversation went something like this. He called me up and said, look, Dad, I'd really like to have the computer. And I said, no, you can't have it. I have another computer, a smaller one, that you can have. If you want to take that, go ahead. But you cannot have the big one. And then he said, geez, Dad, thank you very much for letting me have the computer, and hung up the phone before I had a chance to answer. So I think that was on purpose, so the people on the other end on the other side of the conversation could hear him say thank you for letting me have the computer, and thinking that I had given it to him, which I did not. When I got home from work that day, the computer was gone. I immediately called my ex, Laura, to tell her
so
that
you
there was a
called
mistake.
your ex at that point, and you told her what?
I told her there's a mistake. I did not authorize Adam to take the computer. It is my computer. If he wants to have the smaller computer, he can have it. And she says something to the effect, well, it's between me and him. I don't want to get in the middle of it. Besides, if he doesn't have a computer here, they were living in a one-bedroom house or apartment at that point, that he'll go crazy if he doesn't have that computer.
Let me stop you there. All right, Ms. Hicks, I just have some very direct questions for you. Were you present when he spoke to his father on the phone?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Okay. And the conversation went, Dad, can I have the computer? And from what you heard, the answer was?
He told me that Ron told him, well, if you give me back the VCR that you brought from the house, which I guess it used to be in Adam's room or something, and a portable, handle stereo, you can have the computer.
So you went back. I assume you brought back those things.
Yes, we did.
And picked up the computer.
Yes, ma'am.
He let himself into his father's house.
Right, and I waited in the driveway.
Now, that day, did you receive a call from your former husband?
After we got back home, yes.
And he said what to you?
He said that he wants his computer back, and I said it was my understanding that you told Adam that if you brought the VCR and the stereo back, that he could have the computer. And this is between you and Adam, because he says that's the computer that you bought for him.
But he did call immediately.
After he got home from work.
And then I assume you spoke to your son.
Yes, I did. Well, I think that he spoke to Adam on the phone first, but.
How old are you, Adam?
15 and 10 months.
You had a conversation with your father about the computer?
Yes, I did.
Tell me about your version of the conversation.
Well, I talked to him.
Now look at me.
Oh, I asked him if I could get the computer. We just kind of went back and forth.
What do you mean you went kind of back and forth?
All right, I said to him that I need the computer for school work, and I need because there are a bunch of things that I can do on it, word processing and things.
And he said to you?
Well, he said no, I use it for work, and we kind of went back and forth.
No,
oh,
I got that far. The back and forth is the part, Adam, that, and look here.
All right.
So he said no.
Yeah, and he said, I need it for work.
And he said, I need it for work, and you said?
I said, what do you need the faster computer for work for? All he basically wants it for is so he can play his game that he likes to play all the time.
Okay.
And because he does spreadsheets. He's an accountant, and he can do that on the slower computer just as good. I mean,
is that what you told him?
Yeah, I mean, he used to.
Okay, so you told your father that he could use the slower computer to do his spreadsheets, and he said to you what?
He said, I bought both of them, so, you know, I own them, they're mine. And
And you said?
I just kind of asked, well, can I have the computer? He's like, yeah, sort of. And then I'm like, thanks, Dad, and just kind of hung up on him. That's kind of how it went, yeah, basically. And, but I hadn't gotten the computer at that time. I'm kind of nervous.
Just a minute. So then it was pretty much like, as you said, like your father said. He said you can have the older computer that's slower,
Yeah.
but not the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got off the phone, Adam. Your mother was there, and you told your mother, Dad said I could have the computer. Would you take me over and get it?
Well, actually, no, I did not. We did not get the computer at that time.
When did you get it? The next day?
No, like a week later, when I had called him back again.
Okay, so you called him back again.
Yes.
You
Actually, I
hadn't
think they had, excuse me, I think they had several phone conversations within that week before he actually said to him, well, when he got off the phone and said, you know, he said, if I take the VCR and the stereo back.
Don't take what he says as gospel.
That's why I'm saying.
Right.
He
right.
told me that.
He's doing some fancy footwork here.
I think his father's doing some fancy footwork.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Doesn't say stupid here.
You are here.
Would you give away $12,000 that you didn't know?
Not
No. And he's not stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ronald Reuter says he made it clear to his son Adam that he could not have the computer. Adam says his dad changed his mind during a phone call.
Point of the matter is, Miss Hicks, when his father came home from work, he didn't wait a day or a week or a month to say, well, now I want my computer back. He immediately called you and said, hey, listen, there's been some kind of mistake here. I told him he could have the old computer, but he came in and took the new computer. So clearly there was no understanding between the two of them on that day. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I mean, it's
understand what you're
logical.
saying.
Nothing
True.
happened between the two of you between the time he got off the phone with his father and he went over to get, with your assistance, the computer. I mean, you said to me his father was at work. I mean,
Can I say something?
Sure.
Your Honor. For the last 2 years, it has been one thing after another, okay, since I filed for back child support.
You say that in your answer. You say that it's been problems.
Yeah, I mean, he has gone out of his way to make our life miserable.
That's terrible.
And let me just tell you, well, he was saying about Adam failing school and then he quit summer school. When I filed for the back child support at the very, you know, like 2.5 years ago, whenever it was, the reason I did, after many months of talking to Ron, was I felt that Adam needed to be tested. He was having a lot of difficulty, you know, like 7th grade, you know, 6th, 7th grade, his grades kept going down, okay? I felt that he was having problems and he needed to be tested. I wanted to get him tested.
Okay.
I wanted Ron to help pay for that. Okay, so no, it's not immaterial because that's the reason why he was failing. As the next year he did less. The next year, which was last year, he did fail. I then, when he was failing, got him tested at Huntington Learning Center. He had a reading disability. His grade level was like, you know, 5th or 6th grade in reading and a little bit higher than that in math. He's gone to over 70 hours of tutoring since the beginning of summer, which he was already doing before he quit summer school.
Ms.
Okay?
Hicks,
And
you're
what I'm
not-
trying to say
yeah,
is...
well, then say it.
Okay.
I mean, I understand that you're trying to do the right thing.
Yes, but this is what I'm saying, is that one thing after another he has done because he's been angry, because he didn't want to pay the child support arrears.
And if that's true, Ms. Hicks, if that's true...
Yes.
And if he owes child support, that's outrageous.
I have a judgment.
And now, according to your papers, you were supposed to appear in court just a few days ago. I assume you got your judgment for back arrears. Is that right?
No, Your Honor. It hasn't been set aside yet, but there's other litigation going on. I do not owe it. I'm trying to settle now for $12,000, and she will not do that.
Just a second. If you're trying to settle, sir, listen to me.
Yes.
If you're trying to settle for $12,000, that in and of itself is outrageous to owe $12,000. Because if you say, I don't owe $30,000, but I owe $12,000, even that's outrageous. So
well,
take
Your
a
Honor,
deep
I
breath.
don't owe $12,000, as a matter of fact.
Well,
but
if you
I am
don't
willing to settle it to get it off the case, to get on with our lives. So that is what I'm willing to do.
Just listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. Doesn't say stupid here. Nobody.
Nor here.
Well, it would say stupid there if you don't owe $12,000 and you're willing to settle for $12,000. Would you give away $12,000 that you didn't know? No. And he's not stupid, believe me. But that's not what this is about. Ms. Hicks, I understand that you may have frustration with him over child support. This is not what this is about. This is about one issue. It's unfortunate that it comes here to court, but logic, common sense, and the timing of the events suggest to me that there was no agreement between your son and his father that he could come and take the high-powered computer from the house. I say that to you, Ms. Hicks, because as soon as your former husband came home from work, he called you and said, listen, I didn't give him permission to take that computer. And nothing happened in that intervening 24-hour period. You know, if you said to me, listen, Judge, this is what happened in that 24-hour period. I got it. Put your hand down. Put your hand down. You seem to be winning. Why don't you be quiet?
Good point. Thank you.
If you were to say to me, Ms. Hicks, that in that 24-hour period, he gave him permission to take the computer, then he got served with a summons for child support arrears that day, got angry, called you and said, he can't have the computer anymore. There was a misunderstanding. Then I could say, well, there was an intervening event that maybe ticked him off. But that's not what happened. He had already been advised that you were suing for child support arrears, so that nothing happened in that 24-hour period, nothing except that he went to work. And he went to work, he comes home, he finds no computer, immediately, according to you. Picked up the phone and called you and said, bring it back, and you should have brought it back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He called the police to have him arrested.
Oh, sir, that's outrageous.
But I did not send the police over.
Well, what'd you expect them to do? Send them a card?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Ronald Reuter wants his ex-wife and his son to return his computer. Adam says his dad gave it to him.
You look like you're dying to say something.
Yes, Your Honor. May I?
I want to know if you have. I'm not interested in your feelings, sir.
I know.
I'm interested in facts.
Yes, Your Honor.
So then stand up and tell me who you are.
My name is Bob Lipman, and I am married to Laura Hicks. When Adam brought those things over there in exchange for the computer, I heard all the phone conversations.
Just a second. You mean you will? Are you telling me, Mr. Lipman?
Yes.
Are you telling me you were listening into the conversation, or you heard his part of the conversation?
I heard his part, and when Mr. Reuter showed up with the police, I heard it live. He called the police to have him arrested.
I did not.
You did twice.
Just a second. Did you call the police?
I had the police. My next option was to file a report, a missing item report.
Oh, sir, that's outrageous.
But no, wait a minute. Wait, Your Honor. I did not file. I could have had him arrested for stolen property. I did not do that. I did not do that. I did not want to do that. I love my son. There's no way I'm going to do that. There's a misunderstanding. I had the police come with me, to escort me over there to ask for the property back. That was an option I had. It was a legal option. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to storm.
Just a second.
You're
absolutely right, sir.
One other point, if I may.
My mouth is moving.
One other point, if I may.
I didn't stop moving. It may have been an option. It was an option that you should have rejected as soon as it filtered into your brain. You should have said, I'm not calling the police and indicating that my son came without my permission to take property. It wasn't missing property. You knew exactly where it was.
Yep.
So it's an option that any reasonable parent would not have taken to send the police over.
I did not send the police over.
Well, what'd you expect them to do? Send them a card? Say, please return the computer to
all
local
I was trying to
police
do is do it
department?
within the legal ramifications that are available to me, and that was one of them, and it seemed very reasonable to me at the time. I'm not trying to...
I'm here to tell you that it was not reasonable. That's a legal option, but one that you need not necessarily exercise. So, say nothing else.
Okay.
There was clearly not an understanding between father and son with regard to this computer. Not an understanding that I'm happy that was established to my satisfaction. We understand each other, Adam?
No, because I believe that there actually was an event that happened in between the 24 happened in between the time.
I'll hear you.
I believe that is when my report card came from summer school, or the call came from summer school saying that I had dropped out, and he was very mad.
How do you know that Adam?
Yeah.
How do you know that came in that 24-hour period?
I believe he called me.
Yeah, he called on the phone. I forgot about
Just
that, too.
a second. He called on the phone when?
I think it was right when he got home.
I had
You mean when he got home and found his computer missing?
I think the two things happened at the same time, and I don't believe that there is any show between which one empowered him to call.
Did you get his report card that day?
No, it was the day before.
It was the day before.
It would have been a Monday. He took it on a Tuesday.
When your former husband called and spoke to your son and then spoke to you on the day that you actually took the computer, he said to you, return the computer, right?
Yes, but he said, I think there's been a misunderstanding between Adam and I. And
okay.
Yeah, but this was also the same day, earlier in the day, actually, he called from work and said he was angry because Adam hadn't gone to summer school. And
did he speak to you?
Yes, ma'am.
He spoke to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So just a
And
second.
he talked
hold it. It gets even better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
So he calls you to tell you that he's angry that Adam didn't go to summer school, something that was arranged when he was living with his father. And at that same day, later on in the day, because you said he called earlier, you took him to pick up the computer?
I don't think they were on the same day, as Ron already said. I think it was the day before, and the next day was when we went over and got the computer. Ron said
Okay,
the
just
same
a
thing.
second. That's even better.
Better.
The day before, he called and had this conversation with you about being distressed that he wasn't in school. The day before. So here he is distressed with you that you're not going to school, and that was the intervening event that made him change his mind when he originally said, no, you couldn't have the computer, and you say, then he said, yes, sure, you can have the computer. Is that what you're telling me, Adam?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Baloney.
Well,
Baloney. Forget it.
Nice try.
I'm not interested in anymore. It's enough. It's enough. You have to return the computer to your father. You want to show me something?
Yes, Your Honor, I made a mistake in the value. First off, I don't want
I'm not giving you the value, sir. I'm giving you the computer. You're getting your computer back within 5 days. Do you understand? Do you understand? 5 days. The court will draw up an order. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
First off, I love my son. My point is that he should not get something for nothing.
Ron wanted to prove something to Adam. He said he wanted to prove some life lesson to Adam.
I wanted the computer back. The computer was mine, and I wanted to make the point to him that he should not get it for nothing, that he did not earn it.
he wanted the computer just simply because he was mad at me.
This is not about a computer. It is a vendetta. He has just done everything possible to harass her life. This is just one more incident of that.
I can't tell you how much he's made our life miserable for the last 2 years.
It does prove that you can prevail in court.
Party's on Bigelow versus Ledger. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Sarah Bigelow says her former best friend, Alicia Ledger, also 17, assaulted her, ripping 3 fingernails off. Alicia says it was a fair fight over concert tickets.
Order, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 293 on the calendar in the matter of Bigelow versus Ledger. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Miss Bigelow, you and Miss Ledger had been good friends. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your complaint is that she assaulted you, that it was an unprovoked assault and you were injured? You wanted to pay for all your medical bills as well as the pain and suffering that you sustained.
Correct.
So why don't you tell me how this happened?
Well, me and my boyfriend had bought tickets to go to a concert, and we decided to sell her a ticket because she was going to go with me instead of him, because she was my best friend. We ended up getting in a lot of arguments, and we decided we weren't going to be friends anymore. So I talked with her, and we agreed that she was going to sell the ticket back to me because she had paid $30 for it. But in the meantime, she had borrowed $20 off of us. Her and her boyfriend had borrowed $20 from us. So she was our friend. So I had talked to her, and I told her that since she had owed us 20, I would give her 10, and she could give me the ticket, and that would be even.
Ms. Bigelow, don't make things up as you go along.
I'm not.
Okay? Because your complaint doesn't say anything about you discussed with her the $20. As a matter of fact, you said something about the $20 was owed to your boyfriend, not to you. So you never discussed the $20 with her, that you were taking it off.
Yes, I did.
Did she?
When we discussed it, she told me she would pay me $30 for the ticket. The debt was between my boyfriend and her boyfriend. It had nothing to do with me. So she decided she would give me $30. When I wasn't home, she sent her niece over and exchanged the ticket for the $10.
All right. So then you got the ticket back, right?
Yep.
For the $10.
Yep.
And then what happened?
And then me and my mother and my boyfriend arrived at my house, and there was a police officer there, and she just came over to the car and dragged me out and started beating on me.
And what happened to you as a result of this beating?
I got 3 of my fingernails ripped off because I had these acrylic nails on, and they ripped back and ripped my nails off. And also when the officer was pulling her off of me, she kicked me in my head.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
Okay. When I found out what happened with the ticket, I called her.
When you found out that she picked up the ticket from your house,
right, when I
and
wasn't
only
home.
left $10, what did you do?
I called her because she was at her boyfriend's house. I called her and I said, "What's going on?" And she was like, "You wait and we'll deal with it when I get there." So I waited at her house. I called my boyfriend and let him know what was going on. He called the police so they could solve it without, anything happening. So I was waiting there with the police. When she pulled up, we both grabbed each other and started fighting.
Could I say something?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to do this, but you can move out of there.
When there was a debt between me and him that I owed him money, but it was and I was buying a ticket for her for an Easter present, and I had given the ticket for her for a present.
I'm not
And then when they left the $10,
Listen to this. I'm not interested in that.
all right, when they left the $10 at the house, then I was at my house babysitting my sister, and I couldn't go nowhere to find out what was
I'm
going
not
on.
interested in
So I
that. What
called
is
the
your name?
police.
What's your name?
Matt
Matt what?
Betancourt,
Mr. Betancourt. What city do you live in?
Fitchburg,
Where is that?
Massachusetts.
They must have a very, very large police department that has nothing to do. Because quite frankly, the thing that I found most appalling is that the two of you called the police to meet you at a location, took them away from important business over $20.
Yeah. But it wasn't only over that. It was because that she was
had me
mad.
jumped before. Okay.
Just a second.
So
I heard about that there was a jumping by an old boyfriend, but she wasn't with that boyfriend anymore. This is a court. I don't go into all that extraneous stuff. What I don't understand is this was over $20. You called the police as if it was an emergency. What did you tell the police when you called them, sir?
I told them that they were ripping us off and that she was really angry, and I was afraid something might happen, that they should go down there before something does.
Okay. So when you called the police, you told them that you were getting ripped off, but it was a civil case.
Yeah.
You told them that you owed $20, and that you were afraid what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because your girlfriend was really angry.
Yes.
Were you lying to the police?
No.
Were you telling the police the truth?
Yeah.
So your girlfriend was really angry.
Yeah.
And you were afraid what was going to happen if the police weren't there.
Yeah. She
All
didn't get
right.
ripped
Now,
off.
very good. Now you can sit down.
All right.
Perfect. Did your job. Stand up. You're Mrs. Bigelow?
Yes.
You're her mother?
Yes.
So tell me what happened when you arrived at your house.
When I arrived at my house, we turned into the street. There was a cruiser parked there. Alicia was on our lawn, came running to the car, punched Sarah through the window. And then next thing I know, the two girls were out on the lawn, and she was beating on my daughter. Two other cruisers arrived and pried the girls apart, and Sarah had her fingernails ripped off and was kicked in the face, and they called an ambulance.
Go ahead.
The window was rolled up, for one thing, and it was. She opened the door, and we started fighting.
What did you go up to the car for?
I don't...
Huh? What did you go up to the car for? You had the police there. You go over to the police, and you say to the police...
I told them what happened.
No. You walked up to the car. If you weren't interested in a confrontation, you wouldn't have walked up to the car. You would have stayed back with the police. There was a cruiser there, and you would say, could you please help me? This is a problem over $20, and in all probability, they would say to you, young lady, go home. This is a civil matter. Don't be here. You didn't even wait for the police to come in so that they could separate you. You went barging up right to the car.
The police were there the whole time, waiting with me.
The police didn't walk up to the car with you. Right?
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Young girls sometimes get very hot about former friendships, especially when boys get in the middle. Right?
Right.
Well, that's dumb.
And later today,
You went to the concert,
Yes, we did.
but then you had a surprise when you were there.
Jerry Seinfeld came out and he said that the jokes were on him.
He must have a lot of money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Two former best friends, Sarah Bigelow and Alicia Ledger, were fighting over money paid for concert tickets. Sarah wants medical bills, plus pain and suffering for Alicia ripping out 3 of Sarah's fingernails.
Now, Miss Bigelow, you did a real stupid thing. Really stupid. You knew it was wrong to send over the $10 instead of the $30. You knew it was wrong, and if you didn't know it was wrong, I'm here to tell you you were wrong. Your mother will probably, I hope, will tell you that you were wrong. She was wrong. She got involved with these two buttes over here and what they owed each other. Right?
Right.
Well, that's dumb. And I can understand that you were angry. I really can. I can understand that you felt as if she didn't give you what she was supposed to give you. You used to be friends. Young girls sometimes get very hot about former friendships, especially when boys get in the middle.
Can I say something? I did not tell her to wait at my house.
I didn't say that to you.
No, I know.
I
but
said
she
you were
said that.
wrong for dropping off $10 and taking the ticket when she expected $30. That doesn't excuse your behavior.
I know, and I understand.
And you were hot. And you were hot even after you spoke to her because the answer that she gave you was not one that was satisfactory, as a result of which your boyfriend called the police, and according to him, he said, you better be there because my girlfriend is very hot and very angry, and I don't know what's going to happen. Right? How much out-of-pocket expense did you have? Did any insurance cover this?
Yep, some of them, not the ambulance bill.
How much was the ambulance?
$322.50.
And the rest of the bills were covered?
This is a copay, Your Honor.
Well, the copay is 25, 25, and 25, so that's $75. So your total out-of-pocket expenses were, according to this, $397.50, the ambulance and the copays. All right. How long were you bandaged? I saw some pictures of you bandaged.
For about 4 months.
Your hand?
Yeah.
Is that from where the nails were ripped off?
Yeah.
They had to reinsert her fingernails back in because they were afraid that they wouldn't grow back because they had been pulled out at the roots. So they had to reinsert the nails, but because the acrylic was attached to her real nail,
They had to leave them
they
on.
had to leave them on. She was in a splint for a good 4 months.
You want to say
This just happened about 6 months ago, and a couple weeks after, I kept seeing her on the street. She would give me the finger with that hand, yelling at me, screaming at me, you know. She didn't have any bandages on her hand a couple weeks later.
We're talking here about something that caused a lot of pain.
I know, but if she's
a lot of pain, you have to pay for what you did. You don't do something like that over a $20 bill. You try to hold on to your temper.
And I know that, but the fight was mutual. Yeah.
No. She didn't go to your house. You went to her
We were
house.
next
You went to
door
her house.
neighbors.
Hey, I'm not going to repeat myself. Your boyfriend called the police because he was concerned because you were so angry. And when she pulled up in the car, you couldn't even wait to have the police actually there to resolve the issue. You went running up to the car. And you were so hot that you couldn't even control yourself. Well, you better learn to control yourself. You suing for $2,000?
Yes.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff. And that's
Thank you, Your Honor.
$2,000.
Thank you very
Parties
much.
are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Her friendship wasn't really worth any of the problems. I would never want to be her friend again. It wasn't worth it in the first place. She does nothing but cause trouble.
And now the next case.
Parties on Young versus Adams. Step forward, please.
James Young bought Jerry Seinfeld concert tickets from Mark Adams. Seinfeld announced everyone would get their money back. The defendant, Mark Adams, got credit on his charge card, and the plaintiff, James Young, got stuck paying.
2 Jerry Seinfeld fans,
Yes.
right?
That's right. Yes.
You, Mr. Adams, purchased, fortunately for you, 2 of the best seats in the house
That's right.
for Jerry Seinfeld's concert.
That's correct.
And then something came up in your private life, and you couldn't go.
That's correct.
So what did you do?
I ran an ad in the local newspaper, and Mr. Young responded and bought the tickets from me.
So far correct?
So far.
And you charged him exactly what you paid for the tickets.
Well, I charged him what I paid for the tickets plus the cost of the ad that ran in the newspaper.
That sounded fair, right?
Yes.
How much was the total?
$150, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Within a few pennies.
And you paid how much for the tickets, sir?
I paid $66 for each ticket, plus this is the receipt for the ad that was run in the paper.
You went to the concert.
Yes, we did.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, we did.
But then you had a surprise when you were there.
That's correct.
What was the surprise?
When we went to the concert, Jerry Seinfeld came out and he said that the jokes were on him, and he said he was going to give us our money back for the tickets. So
He must have a lot of money.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Morally, I should give him the money back. Legally, I'm not so sure, which means that the law, sir, is an ass.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Young bought Jerry Seinfeld concert tickets from Mark Adams. Seinfeld announced everyone would get their money back. The defendant got credit on his charge card, and the plaintiff got stuck paying.
So what did you do?
On Monday, my wife, Deb, took the tickets back, and we ran into a problem. I think my wife can explain.
When I took the tickets back to Ticketmaster, they told me that they could tell by the tickets that they had been charged and my account would be automatically credited. Then I explained to them that my husband had bought them out of the newspaper, and they said that we would have to go back to whomever we purchased them from to get the money.
So, Mr. Adams, you are in now the fortunate position of having received the $150 from the plaintiff for the tickets.
That's correct.
Which made you whole.
That's correct.
And you also got $132 credited to your account
That's
for the
correct.
tickets.
That's correct.
So now you're whole plus $132.
That's right.
And Mr. Young says that $132 should actually be his
That's what he said.
because he was the one who purchased the tickets. He was the one who went to the concert. So I would like you to explain to me your defense, sir.
Well, my defense is that when Mr. Young bought the tickets from me, we established an oral contract. He agreed to buy the tickets for the purpose of going to see Jerry Seinfeld. So when Jerry announced the tickets were free, that doesn't fall within the parameters of the original oral contract.
Which was just for him to go to see the show.
Go see the show, correct.
And you honestly, in your heart and mind, believe. I'm just asking you. Before we go at it, Mr. Adams, I'm just asking you whether in your heart and mind you believe that that is a legitimate defense to his lawsuit.
From a legal standpoint, yes, I do believe it is a legitimate defense. It may not be a moral defense, but you know, if he went to the show, he has a hole also because he saw the show. So you know, where do we split the money?
Let us assume he went to the Jerry Seinfeld show on tickets that he purchased from you.
Right.
And instead of Jerry Seinfeld coming out and saying, look, the tickets are free, he said, I want everybody in the theater to look under their seat. And whoever has a big money sign under their seat gets a brand new truck.
Okay.
And Mr. Young looks under the seat. Lo and behold, he's got the Jerry Seinfeld money sign under his seat. Who has a right to the truck?
I suppose Mr. Young does.
Why is that?
It was under his seat.
It was under his seat that he purchased from you. So he got a little bit more than he bargained for.
Exactly.
Well, under the scenario, Mr. Adams, that we have here, it's the exact same thing. He got a gift. He purchased your interest in those tickets. And whatever flowed from that, including our imaginary truck, or the gift of these tickets are free. And under your theory, you should get your money and this little extra bonus. So, Mr. Adams.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Your Honor.
Well, you want to try again to explain it to me? Maybe you can convince me, Mr. Adams.
I'm saying, isn't there a happy medium here? I mean, he already has the whole.
You mean
plus
like being a little bit pregnant?
He wants the show for free.
Right.
He wants the show plus the money.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what would have happened if you went to the show.
But that didn't fall under the original
Just a second.
oral contract.
No, what you're saying is you had an oral contract with him which said you go to the show and that's it. And that wasn't your oral contract. He said, here are the tickets. You're buying the tickets. And you want a happy medium. You say, I'll split the money with you. Is that what you're saying to me? Isn't there a happy medium?
Well, perhaps, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
What you said before, sir, was very telling. You said before, I believe I have the right legal position. It may not be the right moral position.
Exactly.
But it's the right legal position. Okay. And I like to believe that whatever is right morally is also right legally. That's what's wrong with this country's legal system. We've engrafted too many little problems onto the law, which makes it less moral than it should be. So if in your head and heart you say, this is the moral right thing to happen, morally I should give him the money back. Legally, I'm not so sure, which means that the law, sir, is an ass. Did you ever hear that expression?
No, I haven't, Your Honor.
Well, it's an unfortunate expression. And in this court, the law is not an ass. So, judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $132, which is the amount that your credit card was credited for this free concert. Good going, Jerry Seinfeld. Thank you.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You're not being particularly useful. Sit down.
No place for dad in the court.
Somebody that takes a car from a daughter is pretty low, Your Honor.
But that's also very helpful, Mr. Tholen.
Judge Judy Justice.
It has a message to deal with morality, and he won. What more can I say?
Well, I thought she made the right decision. I mean, I bought the tickets. They were my tickets, and I should have got the money back.
We're still great Seinfeld fans, and I think justice prevailed.
All parties on Gigliotti versus Kemp. Step forward, please.
50-year-old attorney Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp slashed his tires and keyed his car in the post office parking lot.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom, ma'am. Judge, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Gigliotti versus Kemp. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Gigliotti, you were going to the post office.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, you got to the post office and looking for a place to park, and all the parking spots were taken.
It was about 10:40 in the morning. I drove into the parking lot. I noticed there was no spaces available. I looked over the parking space for the handicapped, and there was a car there, and I noticed that it had Louisiana license plates that were not handicap provided. I also looked at the front mirror to see if there was a placard there.
So you got out of your car?
Yes, I did. And then I went back to my car and took out a Polaroid camera, and I took a picture of the car and my car as it was seated in the parking space for the handicapped, and then I wrote down the license plate number. And I also noticed when I was around front that it had a Navy parking sticker on it. So I copied down the number of that also.
Okay. So far, what you were doing is you were outraged that somebody parked in the handicapped parking spot.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, as I was writing down the license plate number from the car that was parked there, it was a black Plymouth, a woman came out of the post office, and she started yelling and screaming and waving her arms. She was waving her arms like this, and she said, you move that car, I'll move you.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Why did you have to move your car?
I had pulled in behind the car that was in the parking space in order to get out of the driveway, because the driveway was right next to that parking space. I pulled in behind it.
So you blocked the car?
Yes.
Now, when you looked inside the car, did you see anybody in the car?
I didn't notice anybody at that time, Your Honor.
Okay, so you had now blocked the car, and the woman came out and said, you better move the car.
Yes.
What did you do?
She was yelling and screaming, and I was absolutely certain that she was going to cause some violence. So I walked away from her and walked into the post office and called the police.
Why didn't you just get into your car and move your car?
I didn't think I had that much time. She was coming at me rather fast, rather loud.
Order.
Yeah, go ahead.
And while I was waiting in the post office, Miss Corbett, who was going to be the witness, came in and said, is that your car with the handicap placard in the parking lot? And I said, yes, it was. And she said, that woman just keyed your car. And I went out to the parking lot to see if I could see where she had keyed the car, but she was still walking up and down between the two cars, yelling and screaming and throwing her arms around. So I didn't go out there. I just waited until the police came. And when the police came, I did go out and I inspected the car, and it had been keyed, the entire driver's side.
Okay. You do have handicap plates on your car?
I do.
Why is that, sir?
Because I have a back injury that limits my ability to walk.
How long have you had that back injury?
2.5 years.
And how long have you had the handicap plates?
About 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Step up, please.
Yes.
Can you tell me your name?
Yes, I'm Janice Corbett.
Miss Corbett, I assume you work in the post office. You're the postal worker.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see this lady key his car?
I saw this lady do a keying motion to his car.
Describe what you saw.
I saw her talking with another woman and some children, and she had her keys in her hand. She was frustrated. Then she went to the side of his car, and her arm turned. I could not actually see the key in her hand at this moment, but her arm was turned, so I could see this part, and she walked stiff-armed alongside the car.
Miss Kemp?
Yes.
According to your complaint, and you have a countersuit against the plaintiff for unlawful imprisonment of both you and your children, who you say were in the car.
Yes.
How many children did you have in the car?
3.
How old are they?
At the time, the twins were 4 months old, and Nicholas was 5 years old.
What were you doing at the post office?
I went to the post office that morning to mail a few letters and to purchase stamps. I did pull in to a handicapped spot. Yes, I know that was wrong, but thinking that I would be in there 2 to 3 minutes, I knew I would be right back out. I just didn't think there would be a problem. So, and I was in a hurry because I went there before I brought Nicholas to school. So we went into the post office, my kids and I did what I had to do. I stopped at the front counter to make out some things on the...
How are you holding the twins?
They were in a stroller.
So you actually took them out of the car and put the twins in the stroller?
Yes.
And Nicholas was with you?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay. And we went into the post office. Like I said, on the way out, I stopped at the desk to put the stamps on and all, so I did that. We went back to the car. He said I was waving my arms. I didn't even recognize him because I was in such a hurry to get Nicholas to school, but I got in the car. As I looked back to see if my pathway was clear, then I realized he was parked behind me. So that parking lot is really small, so I thought maybe he was just trying to maneuver his way out of it. He didn't move, so I just sat there and waited a second because I didn't really know what he was doing. So he
didn't move. I saw him come out of his trunk with a camera. So he started to take pictures, and so I didn't think anything. And then I looked up, and there was this handicap. I said, okay, I know what he's doing, and I know what I did. So I got out, and I was not enraged because I knew I was wrong. I became upset when he said he was not going to move. So I waited until he was done with it because I thought that would be the end of it. He's taking pictures. This is his evidence. They'll give me a ticket. That was not the end of it. So he went into the front part of his car to do what I don't know. So that's when I took a step to the back of my car, and I asked him, would he then move? He said there was no way in hell he was going to move, and he was the person that was yelling. I was not yet upset because I wasn't quite sure what his intentions were yet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
When she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I don't believe you.
She's got 30 years and 30 pounds on me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp slashed his tires and keyed his car in the post office parking lot. Monica says Jerome blocked her car so she couldn't pull out, leaving her and her children trapped.
You knew you had done something wrong.
Right.
But you knew that what he was doing, that he was gathering evidence so that he could present it to give you a ticket.
After a while.
Okay.
And he told me there was no way in hell he was going to move. I then started to tell him that, you know, I had to get Nicholas to school. I informed him that I did not have any more formula for my kids because I didn't bring any because I was intending a quick trip to the post office and to school.
I assume you were pretty hot at this point, Ms. Kemp. I assume you were.
I was not angry yet because I thought once I told him that, he would move. And I offered him other information of mine. I told him he could have my driver's license number. I did notice when he came to the front of the car, he was copying down my military information. I asked him, didn't he have enough information? He was ignoring me. When I offered more information, he ignored me. And at this point, when he started to walk off, I was like, I don't believe this. You are going to let us out, aren't you? And he just walked off. And so there was another woman who came up, and she just started to ask me what was the problem and are you okay, because by this point I had become extremely emotional because it's like, okay, this man is not going to move and my kids are in the car and it's hot and they were starting to cry and I was just really upset. I was scared. So she tried to calm me down. She went in the post office and she asked him to move. And
did somebody else come into the post office and ask you to move, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you?
I told her I wasn't going to go out there so long as that other woman, Miss Kemp, was out there.
All they wanted you to do was move the car.
You did not see the condition that she was. She was yelling and screaming, waving her arms, and there was no way I was going to get into a fight with her.
what was I going to do, throw a baby at you?
Just a second.
I had a baby in my arm.
You know that all she wanted you to do was to move your car. She wasn't going to get into a fight with you because if she got into a fight with you, she couldn't get her kids in her car out. Come on, sir. Let's be honest with each other. You were very angry that someone had parked in the handicapped spot that was really reserved for you. Now, I can understand that. I can really understand that. There's nothing to suggest that you did anything wrong in taking down the license plate number, copying down the Navy information, taking a photograph of her parking in that spot. I'm telling you now, I do have a problem with you blocking her car, especially when you knew that there were children with her, twins, under 6 months old, and her son. I do. I mean, you came into court today not in a wheelchair, sir. You didn't come in a wheelchair and you didn't come in a stretcher. So I don't know how come it is that you got a handicapped parking placard. I have difficulty walking too sometimes. Nobody's going to give me a handicapped parking placard. Right? Even Bird here sometimes gets tired, right, Bird? So, can't get a holier-than-thou approach to life, sir, and look at everything reasonably. I mean, this is a situation that was a fast-paced situation, but try to have a little understanding. She was prepared to get a ticket. You could have seen to it that she got a ticket. But you went a little overboard. Now, that doesn't excuse the fact that you keyed his car.
I did not key his car.
Somebody keyed his car. Let me see the pictures of your car. Come on, Miss Kemp. So far, you've been very honest with me. So far, I believe you've been very honest with me.
I have been.
That's right. And aside from the scratch marks on your car, you also had a blown tire, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it wasn't blown, it was
What was it?
slashed. I have a cast of the tire here that shows it's a very neat cut. And when I took it into the tire repair place, they said they couldn't patch it and that it had gone about a ½ an inch into the tire. And it's a very narrow cut, so you can see there was a cut and there wasn't road damage.
If it was cut, you must have cut it, because I didn't.
Let me take a look at that, please. Well, it's kind of hard to slash a tire with a key.
May I say something?
Sure.
I would like to know if his tire was slashed, how did he back out to let me out? How did he get out?
I just said to you, I don't think he can establish through any witness that he has today that you did anything to the tire of his car. That's not what this witness said. Ms. Kemp, look at me, dear.
I'm looking.
Keying his car. Saying, Ms. Kemp, I'm not suggesting to you that the situation didn't enrage you. You had a right to be enraged.
I know.
I believe you had a right to be enraged. What you did was a violation. Sir, what she was engaged in was a violation. I find it disingenuous on your part to suggest that you feared for your life, and when you called the police, you said that a woman had just assaulted you, because that's what you wrote in your complaint. This woman never assaulted you. If she came out swinging her arms and being very agitated because her car was blocked, that is not an assault.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp did damage to his car at the post office. Monica denies she did anything wrong and says Jerome overreacted by blocking her car for 2 hours.
Let me explain something to you, sir.
You need help.
What you found was a violation. No different from finding somebody parked in front of a fire hydrant. Same kind of violation. The action that you took was not in direct proportion to the violation that you observed. Once, sir, you observed this lady and her children. She had 3 little kids. Wisdom would have been the better part of your action, and if you would have said, I now have the proof to take to the police, this is her car, this is this, she is going to get a ticket for parking in a handicapped spot, which was clearly wrong, you and I would have had no problem. And if she vandalized your car, which I believe that you did, Ms. Kemp.
I see that, but I didn't.
Yes, you did. Your action was not responsive to what you saw, sir. You did not exercise good, mature judgment. Good, mature judgment would have meant once you saw what she had in the car, which was 3 small children, you pulled the car out, let her leave, report it to the police, go to the Army barracks, do whatever you wanted to do in order to see to it that she had to pay an appropriate fine. It would have aggravated her enough to have paid a fine. What you chose to do was to create and incite a situation by blocking her car. That was dumb, stupid, and I guarantee you, if she had been 6'4" and a man walking out of that post office, you would not have blocked the car. No question in my mind, you would not have blocked that car. So,
Your Honor,
I have
I
lost.
didn't intend to block her car.
Well, you
I
did.
intended to take down the information.
You
When
did.
she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I
She's
don't
got
believe
30
you.
years and 30 pounds on
I
me.
don't believe you, sir. All
30
you had
years,
to do,
you
hey,
wish.
all you had to do was
Look
get
like my
in your
great-grandfather.
car. You had already taken the pictures. Get in your car and leave. And she, with her 3 small children, was not going to assault you. And you will never convince me otherwise, sir. Never. So, you have a lawsuit, and you are suing her for $5,000 for illegally parking in a handicapped space.
Your Honor, I later found out that she lives 1 block from the post office.
And?
Just a second.
She
My
could have walked
son-
home if she wanted to. It's 1 block away.
And you
Sir
could have
Shay,
moved.
please don't respond to him.
You're right, I shouldn't.
Please don't respond to him. First of all, how did you find out she lives a block away from the post office?
I took the license plate down and I used the DMV in New Orleans, in Louisiana and Baton Rouge to find the registered owner. And then through the Postal Service, I obtained a forwarding address from that address to the address in San Diego.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of shop? What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Yes. That's what I think.
Because if you took the time over this nonsense that you have just told me about, you'd be far better to donate some of your time and some of your energy, sir, to the poor. I was sympathetic to you up to a point. There isn't a soul who drives a car that isn't infuriated when they are driving around and around and around and looking for a parking space and see somebody who has abused their parking privilege and parked in a handicapped spot. Not a soul who's driven a car who hasn't had that kind of frustration. You took it a step too far. And she has a cross complaint against you for $5,000 for unlawful imprisonment for a period of well over 20 minutes. Is that what it was?
No.
How long?
It was like 3 hours.
From the time he blocked your car until the time the police came, how much time elapsed?
From the time he blocked me until the time the first set of police arrived?
How many sets of police arrived?
They had to call someone else to make him move because he, and that's on my cross complaint also, about the intentional infliction of emotional distress. This is when my son became emotional because he would still not move. They had to call someone else to make him move.
Why wouldn't you move when the first set of...
He wanted me arrested.
Why wouldn't you move when the first set of police came?
The first set of police never asked me to move my car.
I heard him.
Well, you were no longer in fear.
That's true.
Just a second. You were no longer in fear, sir, because you now had police officers around. Why didn't you just move your car?
Because they didn't tell me to. All they wanted to do was talk to me.
He's lying.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I believe you keyed his car, right? Let him fix it. I believe that your children suffered during that period of time. And I assume you'll never park in a parking space
I haven't even been
again.
back to that place.
Never. Your complaint is dismissed, and your countersuit is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She started coming at me with the obvious intent to hit me. She was swinging her arms, and what she said was, "You move your car or I'll move you." And I'm sure that she had the intent of moving me physically.
And with my children in stroller in hand, I would like to propose to you, how would I have done that? Did I just let them roll when I came at you like this? Did I do that?
She didn't have any children with her when she was coming at me.
Okay, that's a lie also. And when I found out he was a lawyer, I knew he absolutely had no business. He had no clients, because if he had, he'd have been there helping them. He's bored. But my keys were inside the ignition because when he wouldn't move, I turned the car on to give my kids some air. So I couldn't have keyed his car because I had no keys in my hand. I just wanted her to let him know that he's wrong. So the fact that I lost matters not. I'm just glad he lost.
Party's on Peraza versus Barraza. Step forward, please.
Myra Peraza says she and her former best friend, Tina Barraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle, but Tina refuses to share it. Tina claims it was her ticket that won the Jeep, making her the sole winner.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 301 on the calendar in the matter of Peraza versus Barraza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Ma'am.
You two gals are real good friends. You went to some sort of an event, which you're going to tell me about. One of the things that happened at that event was that there was a door prize of a brand new Jeep automobile. Right?
Correct. Yes.
She won. You think that you should get half. Right?
No. Not exactly.
Well,
I think we both won.
You think you both won, and she claimed the prize.
Yeah, she ended up going behind the back and claiming the prize.
All right, let's start from the beginning. What kind of an event was this?
It was just an event from a radio station and Taco Bell. It was just a concert.
Slowly.
It was just a concert. It was just a concert where these rappers are going to be there or something like that.
You, according to your complaint, got the concert tickets and asked her if she wanted to go.
No. She got the concert tickets.
She got the tickets.
Yeah, and she asked me if I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I agreed, and we went, and at the door, they asked us if we wanted to gamble, and we said yes, and they gave us $500 fake dollars each.
Did you have to pay for that?
No. No, they just asked us at the front, if you wanted to gamble, you got $500. If you didn't, well, you didn't gamble.
So it was like Monopoly money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
And after that, she asked me, I mean, I was there with her the whole time, but then she asked me if she could gamble my money, and I said, sure, go ahead, you know, and she's like...
You weren't gambling?
No, I was just standing right there, just helping her out. That was about it. She gambled, she got all my money, she gambled it away, and we ended up getting chips for, just chips, regular chips of what you gamble with, in return when you were gambling. So we had to trade those in for tickets. And after that, some guys just came up to us and told us that, oh, they were leaving, they were in a rush, so they came over and they gave us their tickets. They said, here, girls, good luck, and if you guys win, give us a call.
So now you had these whole bunch of tickets, and you threw them in a pot.
We just, yeah.
Who held on to the stubs?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was, she had it in my backpack, so she put it in the backpack. We had a backpack, it was only one, so she put them in there.
And you had a whole bunch of them. How many did you have?
There was probably 50 or probably more. I wouldn't know. We didn't count them. And we just threw them inside the backpack, and it was time for them to call out the tickets. The time came, so we went down there, and they started calling out tickets. We won other prizes. Prior to that, we won something else, and it was time to call out.
What else did you win?
We won a jacket and a backpack, and...
What'd you do with that?
One of us kept the backpack, and the other one kept the jacket.
Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I guess the time came to win the thing, and we just got the tickets, and she's like, here, you take half, because there was so many of them. We just split them up. She said, you take half, I'll take the other half. And
to look at the
through
numbers
them,
as they were calling the numbers.
Yeah, so then after that, they called the number. That was about it. They called
And
it.
you had the ticket. You were holding that ticket.
Yeah, she was holding the ticket.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. I'll ask you this question. There came a time when you did split up these tickets, right? She held half, and you held half. Tell me about that moment.
As I recall, we just split them up.
Not we split them up. They're in your hands.
Okay, I split them up evenly.
Split them up evenly?
Yes, I just gave her half, and, you know, we both looked at them.
Okay. Am I correct that your reason that that was done was because it's too difficult to look at all the numbers as they're calling out the numbers, like in a bingo or something, you know,
Yes.
so that each one of you was looking through half,
Correct.
right? And your ticket won.
Yeah, they were my tickets. They were all my tickets.
Now, why do you think they were all your tickets?
Because she had given me her $500. I did not ask her if I can play with her $500. She gave them to me. She gave the $500 to me.
How did that come about?
She said, here, take my money. You can gamble with it.
Is that what you said?
No.
No, that's not what happened.
That's exactly what
happened.
No, we were gambling. She ended up, she was like down to her last $50, and she just said, can I, oh, let me have your money. And she said, if we would win the Jeep, we would split it up.
I had said that from the guys' tickets. I had the guys' tickets in one hand, and I had my tickets in the other hand. The ones that I had won.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. All the tickets were together in your backpack at one point. Oh, I
Yes,
think that they
at
probably
one point-
were.
at
All
one
the
point we put
tickets
them
were
all
together
together.
in your backpack.
At one point, I had put them all together, yes.
So at that point, they were all mixed together.
Yes.
Yours and the guys.
Yes.
Right. So there really is no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or the guy's ticket that won.
Exactly.
Well, now at least we got that straight. So it's not in one hand and then the other hand.
But I had told her, out of their tickets that they gave us, actually they gave me the tickets, and I told her out of those tickets, if we win it, we'll split it because we were friends.
You couldn't tell whether it was their ticket that won.
No, we could not.
You just assumed it was comfortable for you to say it wasn't one of their tickets that won, it was my ticket that won.
I did not say that.
You had no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or one of the guys' tickets that won. Right?
Exactly.
Am I feeling? Hello?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You speak to this pain in the neck, and a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep.
And later today,
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls. And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Myra Barraza is suing her former best friend Tina Barraza after they won a new Jeep in a raffle.
I see that you have a tape there. Can you tell me what that tape is of?
This is just the day of the event recorded us, where we both claimed the prize. We both did go up there and claim the prize. And
For the
said,
Jeep?
Yes.
I want to see it. Well, that certainly looks as if, at least at that moment, there was a mutuality that each of you won that prize. So what happened?
I was willing to split with her.
So?
And that's what we were going to do until about a month later. She had called me up, and she had said that she wanted to give it to me. She said, go ahead and have it, in other words.
Where was it?
I hadn't got it yet.
Did you do that?
No, I called her up. There was all this stuff was going on with the Jeep. We didn't know what we were going to do. It was a big old thing about it. We didn't know how we were going to split it up, who was going to pay for tax and license and everything. And we were going to get the confirmation letter. And I called her up and I told her, yes, you could stay with the Jeep. But she had said if she stood with the Jeep, she was going to give me an $8,000 loan. That's how much the car was worth, $16,000.
I did not state that.
And I told her, okay. She said she was going to tell her dad, sell her other car that she had just bought, sell it back, and instead of paying $15,000, she'll just tell her dad to get an $8,000 loan and pay me for it. And I said, okay. We agreed. I never thought anything. I just said, okay. We didn't. It was just a verbal thing. But I did tell her, okay, you could keep the Jeep, and
that sounds reasonable because you can't split up the Jeep.
Yeah, and I just said, okay. And I said, you could pay my $8,000, or else we're just going to sell the Jeep, and we're both going to get our half.
She's not. No, she did not say that on the phone. She told me that she wanted me to keep the Jeep. That's what she told me.
What? Of course, that's what she said to you.
Yeah, but she did not specify that she wanted me to give her $8,000.
Well, why would she make you a gift of $8,000? If the Jeep is worth $16,000, why in the world do you think, madam, that she would make you a gift of $8,000, which is half of the Jeep? Why?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, let's go slowly. What word didn't you understand? Why do you think that she would make you a present of $8,000?
She did not say anything about $8,000. I did not hear anything about $8,000 on that telephone call. At that time, I was like happy. I was happy that she given it to me. And I figured that
what are you doing standing up here?
I want to step in for the spot where she called her. She told me through everything that happened. She called me every time they had a conversation. She was asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What do I do about the Jeep? Do I split it in half? Should I sell it? What? I told her, you know what? You won the tickets to that concert. It's your Jeep. You were holding the ticket at the time she won it.
Oh, you're the troublemaker. Sit down. Sit down.
As I was saying, I figured the reason why she said that on the telephone is because she knew that she did not have any part in the ticket winning.
Oh, please, madam. I want to tell you something. I think that your conduct was really outrageous to bring it to this point. First of all, the two of you have been friends. There isn't a question in my mind. What?
9 years. 12 years.
There isn't a question in my mind, after looking at that tape, that at the time that Jeep was won, the two of you both of you. I saw her signing papers.
We didn't sign any
Just a
paper.
second.
It was just a back of a flyer. We put down both our names and addresses.
Right. It was the back of a flyer. You both put down your names and addresses as the winners. Right?
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime you speak to this pain in the neck who says to you, I don't think you have to split it with her at all because it was your ticket, it was in your hand. And a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep because there is no logical reason that I can think of except if you're drinking too much, to think that this lady would call you up and say, I just want to give it to you because you're a very nice person. I care about you.
No.
Please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
That's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude did it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Myra Peraza and her former best friend, Tina Peraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle. But Myra says Tina is refusing to share.
Listen to me. Bottom line is, the maximum jurisdiction in this court is $5,000.
I know.
You understand that?
Yeah, I know.
Right? Now, she claimed this prize. I assume you went and claimed the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct. She told me to do what's right, and that's what I thought was right.
Yeah, she just went off this one day. I'd spoken to her the weekend before she did this. I'd spoken to her the whole week when she went off to the radio station and had a cashier's check with her parents. And she did this on Friday. I spoke to her Friday and Saturday. She told me nothing. I told her, what's going on? She said, nothing. I haven't spoken to them. I haven't heard of anything.
Miss Peraza, your friendship's over.
I know that.
And based upon what I've heard, that's probably the right thing to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Because she's not a very trustworthy person. Now, she claimed the Jeep. She's going to have to pay the taxes on it. But I'm awarding you $5,000, which is the maximum that I can. My grandmother used to say, if you do the right thing happens. If you do the wrong thing, eventually it's going to catch up with you. What you did was pretty sneaky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Okay, you got your Jeep. She got her money.
Back door to your right, please.
Just to reiterate what Judge Judy said, bad things, it all comes back to people or whatever. It's going to come back to her because I did what I thought was right, and in God, I trust that I did what's right, and I think it's going to come back to her what she did because she was wrong, not me. She's lucky for even being there. She's lucky for even being at the event. I don't see that she deserves half. I won the tickets to go to the event, and she was even lucky that I took her.
You got your $5,000
Yeah,
you wanted.
I did.
So
I
now you can
did.
shut up.
Yeah, you too. You had nothing to do with this.
And now the next case.
Parties on Anderson versus Rankin. Step forward, please.
Margaret Anderson is suing her tenant, Tim Rankin, claiming he made phone calls to 900 numbers totaling more than $1,000.
All right, Mr. Rankin. You rented a room from the plaintiff.
That's correct.
And I believe that you will agree, based upon what doesn't seem to be in dispute, that when you moved in, you wanted a telephone in your room.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
She offered to put the phone.
Because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
I owed a past due bill on the Pacific bill.
So the answer to my question is yes. You couldn't get the phone in your name.
Correct.
I knew we'd get there, Bird.
Take your time, George.
So she said, okay.
Yes.
Right? Are you nervous?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
I could tell you were nervous. She said, okay, you put the phone in your room, and within a relatively short period of time, you got a bill.
Yep.
And how much was that bill for?
$1,059.
For a 1 month period?
2 months period.
2 months. And you say I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, Your Honor.
Is the phone in your room?
Yes, it is.
You think she did it?
I doubt
Look
it.
at this lady. Look, I just want you to look at her. You think she went into your room and made the calls?
I doubt it.
Somebody's got to pay the bill.
Right.
Now, you want to try to explain to me in 100 words or less why it shouldn't be you?
In 100 words or less, I don't know if I can do it in 100 words or less, but I believe that the other tenant that was living there made those phone calls.
So?
And there's a reason behind why I think he made those phone calls.
I'll hear you.
Okay, well, the former tenant and her had a limousine business. She put up $27,000 for a limousine. Somehow I was drawn into the middle of that. Their business relationship didn't work out from the get-go. They were screaming and yelling every night there. And because I didn't take his side in the limousine business, he started to have an attitude against me. Eventually, I had to throw him in jail for assault on me at the lady's house. The following day, her and I went down and put restraining orders on him. At that point, I believe he went in my room. He wanted me out of that house no matter what. No matter what the cost, so he could work on her by himself. I believe that he went into my room and made a bunch of phone calls, information phone calls. I'm not sure what exactly they were. Psychic, maybe, I don't know what kind of phone calls they were.
Psychic hotline calls? Is that what they were?
900. Sex calls.
Sex calls.
Sex calls. Okay.
Okay. So that's your defense. You know, we used to call that, when I was sitting judge in Manhattan, somebody once told me that that's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude
done it.
Did it. Did you ever hear that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Rankin, let's keep this simple, sir. Somebody's got to pay this bill. The phone is in your room. If the phone had been in your room and been in your name, you would have had to have paid the phone bill. And then if you felt that somebody in an unauthorized fashion used your phone, you would go and sue them, right?
That's correct.
But you don't say to the telephone company, listen, Ma Belle, I didn't make the phone calls from my phone. Somebody else did it. You pay the bill, and then you pursue whatever other remedies you have. You are responsible to safeguard the phone in your room. Not her. She was doing you a favor. Why should she be out $1,059? Is there any reason?
No, there's not a reason
Good.
she should be out.
Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,059.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Everybody's not like Tim. There is nice people out there. I went ballistic. Yeah, I was very, very surprised, shocked, mad, angry, really, really upset.
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls. And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
I was used and abused.
It's on Ramos versus Taylor. Step forward, please.
30-year-old Diana Ramos says she met mortgage broker Mark Taylor in a nightclub and later loaned him money, which he never repaid.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Excuse me. They don't care. Judges number 179 on the calendar in the matter of Ramos versus Taylor.
I care, Bird.
Okay. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
All right, Miss Ramos, for some reason that I don't understand that you're going to tell me, you lent this man some money.
Yes, ma'am.
You say you have a note to prove it.
Yes, I do.
He says he paid you.
No, he hasn't.
And that he can prove it. So first, Miss Ramos, you want to tell me why you lent him money in the first place, how much you lent him, and when he was supposed to pay you back.
I loaned him $700.
When?
This was in May.
Why?
I felt sorry for him.
Why?
Because he told me that he needed money to pay rent.
Well, how long had you known him before you gave him the $700?
I met him earlier that month.
Where?
At a bar.
Did you, other than just meeting him at the bar, did you become friends? Did you date?
Yes, friends.
Just friends? From the time you met him at the bar until the time you gave him the $700, how many times did you see him?
Quite a few times.
2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times?
Probably about 10 times.
Where did you see him? I'm trying to figure out why you would lend him $700.
Where did I see him?
Yeah.
I would call him, and then we made arrangements to for my mortgage loan.
Is that your business, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
You're a mortgage broker?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been a mortgage broker?
2.5 years.
How many mortgages have you brokered?
Probably, on an estimate, if the market's doing good, about 10 to 15 a month, if I'm lucky.
And you've been lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah? So what'd you need $700 for from her?
Well, what happened, basically, is I met her and a friend at a bar, okay? I was talking to the friend at first, and then I told her, I said, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'd like to talk to you, but no dice. Well, this continued. We called each other for lunch. We seen each other for lunch, and she's kicking it with me and everything. And
she's what?
She's hanging out with me. You know, we went to lunch together. We were sitting there talking.
Did you say she's kicking it with you?
Yeah, that's just what she's doing. So, you know, to make a long story short, we got to talking about some personal things, and we made an agreement. She said she didn't have to go back to work. We went to the house. We spent the night with each other, okay? It's not 10 or 15 times. She's at my house every day. She took me to work every day. So what was happening is during this time, I left one company to start another one. They were having some problems with their payroll, so I asked her to do me a favor. She did it, and I said, no problem, I would pay her back. She's saying I never gave her any money. I did give her a form of $200 in cash when they had paid me, okay? During this time...
Prove it.
Oh, well, you know, she knows I gave it to her, and I'm not gonna fight that. But during this time, I made an agreement with her. I told her, I said, well, Diana, check this out. I have a compensation agreement. I could lower my fees and what I'm gonna charge you for the loan. And if you take that form of payment that way, you know, then I won't owe you anything. She agreed to it. Okay, then the holiday kicked off. 4th of July, she calls me up, 911 on my pager. I call her back. So she's telling me that her daughter, okay, who was leaving to go to San Antonio, had told her boyfriend about us and everything. So the boyfriend's on the phone, and he's raising sand and this, that, and the other. So I asked her, you know,
kicking in.
Basically.
Just a second, let me get this. I like to learn something new every day, sir. Kicking in.
Kicking it.
Kicking it. Yeah.
Kicking it, and raising sand.
Yeah.
Raising sand. In English.
In other words, he's being very hostile.
Order.
Okay? He's being very hostile about this situation that he's been told about me and her being together and sleeping with each other. So I asked her, what do you want me to do? And she said, well, I don't want you to tell him. I said, you know that's gonna cost you. Okay, she agreed to it. I said, you know that's gonna cost you to keep my mouth shut because I was getting tired of being the number 2 guy.
Let me try to understand this in English. You say that the loan that she made to you of $700 was forgiven by her because you agreed to, just don't shake your head anything, I'm just trying to understand this, because you agreed to keep your mouth shut and not tell her boyfriend that you had slept with her.
Exactly.
Exactly! Mr. Taylor, kicking it, I didn't understand. Raising sand?
Raising sand.
Raising sand, I don't understand. But I want to ask you if you understand the following phrase. Did you ever hear this phrase? Blackmail.
No, it wasn't blackmailing her. Not at all, because she asked me not to tell him. When she called me, I asked her what was this about. She said, Jennifer told John
Gotcha, I understand
what's going
that.
on. Okay, so I wasn't blackmailing anyone.
Somebody told the boyfriend, according to you, I'm not even going to ask you if this is true, but somebody told the boyfriend, she asked you not to confirm that with the boyfriend. Yeah. And you said, I'll do it. I won't. I'll tell him it's not true if you forgive this loan.
It wasn't in part of the loan. When I said you're going to pay for that, it had nothing to do with,
well,
with
I
the
don't
loan
understand. What is
part
the
of
pay? Are you going to pay for this? What did that mean?
In other words, what I meant to her, she was going to pay for it, is that we were going to have a long talk about me having to, you know, bow down and not tell him what really was going on. Because the thing about it was, I felt like I was going to pay for it because when I seen him...
Were you, just a second, Mr. Taylor, were you hurt and offended, sir?
Yeah, I was.
Were you mortally wounded?
No.
No. You don't look as if you were mortally wounded, sir.
Oh, I wasn't?
It doesn't appear to me as if you were mortally wounded, sir. So let me understand this. You had, according to you, an evening of frolic with the plaintiff.
It was more
Plus,
than an evening.
Let's say 2 evenings? Let's
no,
say 5 evenings.
every night for the last
Every
3
night.
weeks.
You had every night of frolic with the plaintiff.
Yeah.
And she had every night of frolic with you.
There you go.
Good. And you have her $700.
No. Wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wanted a relationship with me. Not even want anything to do with him.
You're right. It takes 2 to tango. She had to do something.
And later today,
I don't think that it's right for anybody to slash anybody's tires. So if you did that, that was really, really wrong. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very, very bad.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mortgage broker Mark Taylor claims Diana Ramos is angry that he broke off their secret affair. Diana says she just wants her money back.
Did he give you the $200?
No.
Did he give you any money?
Yes.
How much?
100.
Okay. Could you prove that you gave her more than $100, sir?
No, because at the time...
All right, so let's say you now owe her $600.
That's not what the case was.
Just a second. How much money did you pay her back?
I gave her $100 in cash, and then I gave her on 2 occasions $50. So it's totaling to $200, and she knows it because she took me to cash the checks when I gave it to her.
Assuming that that's true, that you gave her $200, where's the other 5?
I agreed to, as a part of this mortgage loan, because I have a compensation agreement on her, as well as a good faith estimate that was provided, and a mortgage origination statement. And I said, look, I'll deduct the difference of the money of what I owe you off the fees. I didn't hear anything else about it.
Did you agree to it? Did you agree to that?
No.
Did you buy this house?
No.
She's still
You didn't buy the house?
No, I didn't agree to anything.
Well, so what did she get from it, sir?
It's to be determined.
Just a second. She didn't buy the house. She didn't use the mortgage.
She's still pending. It's to be determined. She was purchasing a new home. All I was doing was creating the financing. She knew that she needed to go out and find a home. And I have the compensation agreement that's still good on you to the 3rd of October right here, that this is what was going to be performed up until those calendar days.
Right now, she didn't do anything. She didn't agree to anything. You owe her the money, sir. Did you ever hear the expression? You heard kicking it? Mm-hmm. Sanding, what? Sanding?
Raising sand.
Raising sand, right?
She
Did you ever
agreed to
hear,
that.
don't mix business with pleasure?
Of
Did you ever
course.
hear that? So, don't mix business with pleasure, sir. You borrowed money from somebody as a friend because you were between paychecks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wanted to have a sort of work it off on this thing, on this agreement that you had.
I told her she could take that or I would pay her back. And even on the promissory note, asked her to provide a promissory note to you because I told her that if I didn't agree to pay her by the 17th of July, that we would make arrangements to have it settled. I did not hear from Mrs. Ramos. The next thing...
You acknowledged, sir, that you had to sign a promissory note.
Right, but...
That you signed it. Let me see the note.
She has it.
Let me see the note, please. You were supposed to pay her, sir, half by the 17th of July. Did you pay her half?
Correct. No.
Good. Then you defaulted.
That's because she had made other arrangements with me prior to that date.
I don't believe you.
Okay. Well,
I don't believe you.
ask
I
her.
don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Then when I was served the paper, she documented on there that she failed to call me. That is not what the case was. She called my place of employment, and personally put this through someone else. I called her place of employment, told them, look, we're having a personal problem over something. I would like for her
It's not a personal problem, sir. She lent you $700. You were supposed to pay for it 2.5 months ago. You didn't pay for it. And then you started to do a tap dance. A, you said, I won't tell your boyfriend, but it's going to cost you.
No, that
B,
wasn't
that's according
the
to
case.
you. You said that 2 seconds ago, sir.
Yeah.
B, we'll work it out in this deal. I'll take less in my commission. I'll take less in my commission than I would ordinarily charge you, and we'll call it even. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Taylor, if a friend lends you $700 in your time of need, you ought to do this mortgage agreement for no commission.
No.
No, listen to me, sir. For nothing. If you were in a bind, if you were in a bind, as you were, I'm sure that you wouldn't go and ask this lady for money if you weren't really in a bind. And she helped you.
That's not how that went off.
It would seem to me, that's what you said. You said I was between checks and I needed some help.
She volunteered to do it.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused. Step out.
You got your money back, but you know you was doing me and doing John at the same time. Ashley, bring him down here. He'll tell you. John, if you get to see this, buddy, like I told you in Texaco, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Have a good one.
And now the next case.
All parties on Taylor versus Lee. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend, Fred Lee, because he didn't pay his phone bill. He says Crystal slashed his tires.
This used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, it did.
That's past tense.
Yes, it's past.
Your complaint says you let him put a phone in your name.
Yes.
Big mistake.
I know now.
He didn't pay the bill?
No, he didn't. He didn't pay a couple of bills.
And the total on that phone is now?
$967 and some change.
And you say?
I intended on paying the phone bill, but she came up to my job and slashed 3 of my tires. So that's when I decided not to pay the bill, because the three tires that she slashed, the 3 tires that she slashed came up to $340 a piece, which was over $1,200.
I read that in your answer, that you paid $350 a piece for tires.
Why didn't you get some cheaper ones?
Hey, don't speak to him.
Okay.
Bird, I haven't bought tires in a while, and I know about inflation. Did you ever hear of tires that cost $350 a piece?
Not on any vehicle I've ever driven.
What kind of car is it that you drive, sir?
An Acura Legend Coupe, a very expensive car, and the wheels are very expensive too.
You mean, when did you buy these tires, sir?
May 6th.
Why didn't you pay the phone bill instead of buying the tires?
Exactly.
Shut! Hey!
Okay.
Do I look like I need help? I would suggest you be quiet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you're winning, you're supposed to be quiet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you owe somebody, you can find yourself a 1965 VW Bug with $50 tires and make sure that your obligations are paid for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend Fred Lee because he didn't pay his phone bill. He says Crystal slashed his tires.
Why didn't you pay the phone bill instead of buying $350 tires for your Acura?
The phone bill wasn't due at that time.
Yeah, oh.
When the phone bill came...
No, just a second. The phone bill was over an extended period of time, Mr. Lee. Are you telling me that you paid the phone bill each month and that it was 1 month that it was $967?
No, actually
No. Let me see the phone bills. How many times did you pay the phone bill, sir?
I paid the phone bill a couple of times, actually.
How many is a couple?
I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times.
Let me see proof
I don't
of
have
it.
exact
Let me
proof.
see you. Let
I
me
don't
see your
have
proof.
at all.
All right.
Basically, I went tit for tat. The bill came, she slashed my tires. I felt we were even.
Let me explain something to you, sir.
Okay.
Let's talk about her bill, her April bill.
Okay.
The prior balance that you owed in April was $80.
Yeah.
Then you had a Pacific Bell charge for $355.21. That's in April. In June, sir, the current charges on your phone were $163.
Okay.
But the total due was $967.90, with a prior unpaid balance of $804.58. So it doesn't look to me as if you ever paid this bill. Ever. Now, you never paid the bill.
I was gonna pay the bill.
Listen, did you ever hear the expression, shoulda, woulda, coulda?
Yeah.
I should have done that. I
She
could
shouldn't
have
have
done
slashed my tires.
Just a second. Just a second. Did you see her slash your tires?
I have a witness. but
Did
he-
you see her slash your tires?
I was at work.
Good.
Doing my job.
Listen, I don't think that it's right for anybody to slash anybody's tires.
Especially at the amount that I paid.
Absolutely right. Now, because that would be, if you did that, if you did that, shut.
She did.
If you did that, it would be taking the law in your own hands.
Which she
Do you
did.
Hey. So if you did that, that was really, really wrong to slash his $350 a piece tires that he bought instead of paying the phone bill, which is in your name. That would have been a very, very bad thing to do. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very, very bad. But he doesn't have any proof that you did that. He thinks that you did that, but
told
he
me
doesn't
she
have
did.
any proof.
Why would I tell you I slashed your tires?
You told me.
I didn't tell you
Oh,
that.
I don't believe
and
that.
we're not in court for them tires. We're not in court for that.
Miss Taylor,
You will be.
if you open your
won't.
mouth again, you're going to be a very unhappy person.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
It was very bad of you to buy 3 new tires when you had this outstanding bill, sir.
I had to drive my car. I had to get back and forth to work. I had to buy them.
Well, I want to tell you something, sir. I guarantee you, whatever work you do, I make more money than you do, and I don't drive an Acura with $350 a piece tires. So if you owe somebody for a phone bill that's in their name, you can find yourself a 1965 VW Bug, drive it around, right, with $50 tires, and make sure that your obligations are paid for. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $967. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
He was no good. I just want to let all the girls in LA know Fred is no good. That's that.
Okay.
That's that.
I'm very good. I'm definitely somebody else's game. So, all you women in LA, I am single.
Parties on Wizardin versus Concepcion. Step forward, please.
bail bondsman Gene Wisenant claims Frank and Eleanor Concepcion owe him bail money and that Frank bit his finger when he tried to arrest him.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judge, this is number 277 on the calendar in the matter of Wisenin versus Concepcion. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Wisenant, you are a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
This lady came to you because her husband, I suppose that's you,
Yes.
correct, was arrested?
She actually, Maria is my subagent who actually wrote the bond.
You came to her?
Mm-hmm. Well, I called her.
Because your husband was in jail?
Mm-hmm.
What was he arrested for?
For possession of stolen property.
Possession of stolen property is what he was arrested for. He was being held on how much bail?
$25,000.
$25,000.
There's one other charge there, Your Honor. It was PC 273.5, which is domestic violence.
So possession of stolen property and beating up his wife.
Actually, I believe it was his sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Because that's heavy bail, $25,000. Anyway, you charge 10%.
That is correct.
And you agreed to post the bail for him.
Yes, ma'am.
So he could get out of jail, right?
Right.
That was a nice thing for them to do.
It's her job.
Your fee, that's his job. For which he gets what?
For which he gets 10%.
Paid.
Right. Gets paid.
And at the time your wife came in, all she had was $1,300. But they agreed to go ahead and post the bail anyway.
Right.
Correct. And there was an agreement, and what was the agreement about the rest of the bail, sir?
It was a signed promissory note to have the remaining balance of $1,300 paid in full by May 2nd.
And how many days after that?
That was actually 4 days after the bond was posted, and that was a date that was agreed upon by Maria, the agent writing the bail, and Eleanor.
May I see it, please? So, Ms. Concepcion, you signed this promissory note to come in 4 days later and post the rest of the bail.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Did you?
I tried. That I didn't. No.
You didn't?
No.
And you, sir, got out of jail.
Yes.
Did you go in and post the money?
No, I didn't. I told her, directly, I told her, I said, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to have that money for you. Now, is there a way that we can make arrangements for the balance? Payments such as, $200 a month.
Just a second. These aren't your relatives. They're in business.
But, Your Honor, she told me that if I had any problems making the payments, she could make arrangements.
Correct. But when I had also spoken to her and we did the promissory note, I told her to tell me the date that she can come up with this money. So I gave her an option to either pay it off in full or do payments. And she told me that she could come up with the money by May 2nd, which was a couple days later.
Okay. Now listen. The most important thing for you was to get your husband out of jail.
Yeah.
You signed this piece of paper that promised that you would make the payment to the bail bondsman, who stands to lose all the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not just this little bit of money, but $25,000.
That is correct.
Because you are ensuring that he's going to show up and do the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his business. Okay. So you got what you needed momentarily, which was to get out of jail. You promised whatever you had to promise, and then you didn't pay it. How many times have you been arrested? Can't try to count on one hand.
No.
How many
I haven't
times?
been arrested that many times.
So you know the drill?
Not really.
Are you sure you do? How old are you?
37.
You've been arrested more than 3 times, sir? Make sure you tell me the truth.
Actually, about 3 times.
Yeah, the money issue was actually secondary on...
I know.
Okay.
Because your lawsuit says that he didn't show up.
To sign the paperwork, that is correct.
To sign the paperwork, and he was supposed to.
There's also
That's this other form.
Can I see that, please?
His wife signed. Sorry.
Now, you signed this paper agreeing that you would produce your husband in their office within 48 hours of his release to sign the remainder of the paperwork. Right?
Right. But she told me, because I didn't have the money, she told me not to go in.
Did you ever tell her not to come in?
No.
Baloney! Baloney! She never told you not to bring him in to sign the rest of the paperwork? Paperwork is what he has to have.
When I spoke to her, why wouldn't she tell me this? She told me she
Just a second, sir. Were you told by your wife that you had to go in within 2 days to sign some paperwork?
No.
Baloney. Baloney. You
I
know,
don't think
there's a
so.
certain common sense, sir. You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
She told me about taking a picture, yes, okay.
Right.
But like I said, I
Just a
spoke
second.
to this woman
Yeah.
personally.
Your wife told you that you had to go in and sign some paperwork and have your picture taken. So the answer is yes. Right?
Picture taken, yes.
Did you go?
Did we don't know?
No, because we didn't have the money.
This says when you're released within 48 hours, you have to come to his office. Is that what it says?
Correct.
It is in English. Clear as a bell. So don't tell me
I
about going to
understand
court
that.
the
No,
next
I
day.
understand that, but she told us not to come in because we
There was a lot
making
of
a trip
things
for
said
nothing.
verbally.
I would call her and she would tell me she would come in the next day. There was no one, she never ever came in. I kept calling, telling me that her check or whatever, or forever which reasons, she didn't have the money. And I told her, okay, if you don't have the money, come in and we can make payment
You
arrangements.
told me
but
you were
he
gonna
needs
arrest
to
me.
Come in.
Hey.
If the paper on the agreement said, on that agreement that we just handed to you, said if he didn't come in within 48 hours, then we could arrest him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenand says Frank Concepcion owes him bail money. When Gene went to collect, Frank says there was an altercation over a gun.
Tell me what happened when you went to arrest him.
Here we go.
There were 2 times. The first night was on a Wednesday, the 14th, I believe. I went to the mother-in-law's house, which was listed as his residential address. I went there, I saw Eleanor, and I saw his mother-in-law, and a number of other people there. I went through the house, he wasn't there. Gave Eleanor and her mother my business cards with instructions to have Frank call me when he came back in.
You're a liar, man.
Shh. Hey, I want you to be quiet, sir. Don't talk to him. You're going to have a chance to speak. How much after you posted the bail for him did you go to effectuate the arrest?
About 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks.
Okay. And in that 2.5 to 3 weeks' time, had he come in to make any payment whatsoever?
No, ma'am. As a matter of
Had
fact,
his wife come in to make any payment whatsoever?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So you went to arrest him. And tell me what happened when you got there.
Got to the house. We were watching the house. Maria was the driver. I was going to effect the arrest. I had Maria move the car. I was standing in the shadow next to the side of the house when Maria pulled to the light to square the block and come back on a different location. Frank's, as I find out later, it was Frank's younger brother comes out, sees her pull away, yells something out. Frank goes running across the street, out to the front door, across the street to his parked car. That is correct. I yelled out his name. I yelled his name again and ordered him to stop. He turned around, looked over his shoulder at me, ran back towards the house. I stopped him in the driveway, side of the house in the side driveway. We rolled to the ground. As we were rolling, I felt his hand go for my gun. I clamped his hand. At that point, I basically gave up on the encounter. My whole goal, my whole purpose in life at that point was to hold the gun in the holster, not allow the gun to get released, get out. I had his left hand clamped to my gun and my gun pressed down in the holster. He was able to straddle my body, get his right hand around my throat.
Tell the truth now.
I'm going to throw you out of the courtroom. Take your hands out of your pockets and be quiet. You're going to have your opportunity, sir, to tell me your version of the story. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Okay, continue.
He's got his hand on my throat and his other hand on my gun. I put my hand up to his head. I can still feel the ridge of his eye socket under my thumb with the intention of rolling my thumb in. I rolled my hand down across his face to rock his head back and force him off of me. When my hand came down across his face, he clamped down on my left index finger. Still have a scar on each side. He clamped down. I felt his jaw rake across it. His brother then got up to my right side. I felt his brother pry at my hand on the gun, and either I hit him with my elbow or I kneed him with my knee.
Must be his auntie.
My hand got free at that point.
Do me a favor. Would you stand behind him? Because I want to get this case over with, so I don't want to throw him out of the courtroom. But maybe your presence is there, Officer Byrd, will remind him to keep his mouth shut until it's his turn.
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
When he yelled out, I was able to get my hand free. I pried his hand off my throat. At that point, I guess he felt he was losing control. He tried to stand up. Because I was holding both of his hands, he pulled me up as well. His brother put up both his hands on my chest and pushed me back to the ground, struck me trying to hit my groin missing. Frank got up, took 2 or 3 steps. I either pushed or punched his brother again to get him off of me. Frank took a step back and yelled, "Don't hit my brother." I was able to get up. Frank ran to his car across the street. Maria was parked in the middle of the street on the phone with the local police department. She witnessed the whole thing. Frank got away that night, and then I went straight from there. Police officer responded about 10 or 15 minutes later, took a report, and I went directly to the emergency room to get medical care for my finger.
So the remainder of your lawsuit is for the bite?
The bite, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay, first of all, we talked on the phone, and this is after 2 weeks. We spoke on the phone. I have not yet even spoke to this man. I spoke to her, and her and my wife were talking. We agreed to come down to their office at that evening. The call was about 4 o'clock. We agreed to be there about 8 o'clock. I left the house. I told my wife, I said, we'll go down there, meet me down there at 8 o'clock. I have to go to my father's and run some errands, okay, for my father. Okay, this was at my father's place. Okay, he came, I went outside. I was leaving after I ran the errands for my father, okay. This was nighttime already, it was dark. I go to my car, it was parked across the street, okay. As I'm going across the street, it's dark too, there's not many lights out there. Now, he's hiding behind a bush, okay? All of a sudden, I'm walking across the street, I'm in the middle of the street, and somebody says, "Hold it. You move it, I'll shoot." He got his .357 out, pointing right at me, okay? And I look at him, I don't know who he is. He never identified himself at all, okay? I don't know who the heck, he could be trying to rob me, you know? I take off. As I'm running back towards my place, okay, the garage, I turn around, because he's right behind me, I turn around and smack him one. Okay, then I pick him up and I throw him, body slam him on my garage. Okay, at this point, he's going for his gun again. Now, when he goes for his gun, I put my elbow up in his throat, okay, and I'm grabbing for the gun, because I'm gonna take it from him before he shoots me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're wrong about that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor,
1947.
You're wrong again in 1998.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion tried to jump bail. When he tried to collect, an altercation ensued.
Just tell me your version of what happened that day.
This man's going for his gun like it was the thing to do, like he's some super cop or something. You ain't about nothing, though. But I'm gonna tell you, okay, as I'm going for his gun, all right? And this time he's got, like he said, he's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger, all right? Then I pull the gun out from his holster and toss it in the bush. Now, I don't want some accident to happen because this guy's acting like a fool out. Would just pull out his gun, you know, like he thinks he can do this. I haven't jumped bail. I haven't missed my court date. I haven't even had my court date yet. And he's coming at me with a gun?
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You were running errands for your father, and you were supposed to be at his office. Shut up! Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
You were supposed to be at his office at 8 o'clock. That was the plan. That's what you told me, correct?
Right, correct.
Did you go to his office at 8 o'clock? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Right. Because when he came to your house, it was after 8 o'clock, correct?
No, it was before 8
What
o'clock.
time? What time?
7:30, 20 till.
But he had came
Just
to the
a
house
second.
before
Just
me.
a sec. Hey.
I was there.
Just answer my... Listen
was
to me.
there.
Listen to me. Truth of the matter is, the two of you had absolutely no intention of going to his office
Yes,
at
I
8 o'clock.
did. I was going.
Yeah,
It only takes 15 minutes to get there.
Oh, baloney.
They had no intentions of meeting us at their office.
It was all set up.
Listen to me. It may have been a setup, but you had no intention of going there, paying the money, and having your picture taken. and
It
filling
wasn't
out the
about
rest of the
paying
paper.
money. It wasn't about paying money.
It's
It
about
was
making
about
a
signing
step.
a contract to pay $200 a month.
All right.
For the rebalance.
Okay,
of
let's go. Let's finish up that. And let me get to the next thing that's troubling me about your version of this story, sir. When you first started to tell me the story, you told me he was hiding in the bushes, which means that you saw him hiding in the bushes.
No.
And, well, then how did you know he was hiding in the bushes?
Because I crossed the street and he said, hold it, move and I'll shoot. That's when I looked and he was hiding in the bushes.
I see. So you saw him hiding in the bushes. What did you say no for? You saw him hiding in the bushes, right?
Okay.
Then you just went through a whole story about where does he come off taking out his gun. It's only a bail and I hadn't missed my court date. Isn't that what you just told me?
That's correct.
Right. Just a minute. But then at the beginning of the story that you were telling me you thought he was a robber. There to rob you. How could he be a robber and a bail bondsman at the same time?
He never identified himself. I told you. You're not listening to me.
No, I'm listening to you, sir.
No, I told you he did not identify himself. He never had.
You said to me, where does he come off pulling a gun, a .357 Magnum on me, as a bail bondsman?
I'm speaking after the fact already, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, I've heard both stories. A, you owe him the money for the bail, because that's what you promised, madam, to pay him. That's the written... Stand closer to him.
Stand as close as you want, brother.
That's what you promised. That's what you agreed. You agreed to come in and pay $1,200, right?
Right.
So that's what you owe him. And what I am finding, based upon common sense is that he got out of jail and he said, let him come find me.
No, you're wrong.
Sure.
You're wrong
Didn't
about
come
that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor,
1947.
You're wrong
But
again
since
in
1947, I didn't. You are suing, sir, for assault. It's
Yes,
clear
sir.
to me from his own version of what happened that he knew exactly who you are when you stopped him, that he was avoiding you, that the family was avoiding you, and that you were effectuating a lawful arrest in order to secure your bail, because it was now 2.5 to 3 weeks, and the person for whom you had posted bail failed to come in to complete the necessary paperwork and failed to keep that part of the agreement that provided for the remainder of the 10% of the bail. So you had an absolute right to go in and effectuate an arrest under the laws in this jurisdiction, and you were assaulted. And I believe that he knew who you were, that what he should have done was stop immediately. He did not do that.
Do you
Based
believe
upon
he
his own,
identified himself?
based upon his own statement.
Do you believe he
Right.
identified himself?
I'm not here to answer your questions. You answer my questions. Based upon his own statement, he turned around and struck you before you struck him. He said that, not you. He says he turned around and assaulted you. So I'm granting you your judgment for $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You come at me.
Yeah, keep smiling like that.
Yeah, you keep smiling, okay?
Because you know it's wrong what you did,
I'll
okay?
drop you again.
You know it's wrong. Especially in front of
Yeah.
the kids. You did that stuff.
You pull out a gun in front of my kids. Sucker, I'll beat you, all right? Don't. You're lucky I let you go, okay? You're lucky. You're lucky I didn't pistol whip you with your own gun.
All parties on Higbee versus Bonani. Step forward, please.
George and Johanna Higbee say their late friend's son, 30-year-old Silvano Bonani, won't allow them possessions promised by his departed father's wife. Silvano says the things mean a lot to him.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Higbee versus Bonani. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Higbee, according to your complaint, you purchased a house in 1985, and you were next-door neighbors to the defendant, his father, and then a stepmother, because your father was married sometime after 1985 to your stepmother. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
This past year, your father died,
Correct.
and his will left everything to your stepmother, a life estate in the house, and after she was no longer here, the will provided that the house and other property went to you.
Correct.
The stepmother decided shortly after your father's death to move back to where she originally came from, which was, I think, Illinois.
Correct.
And she decided to transfer the house over to you.
Correct.
And then you come in. You were assisting her in packing up her things, loading up her stuff, and you claimed that there was an agreement that you had certain property that she left behind, that when you took control of the house, you took. You didn't list what property that was.
Everything that was left.
Well, Ms. Higbee, that's what you say, but I
Yeah.
need a witness to testify that this property was actually gifted to you, and that the only witness that could be would be his stepmother.
Right.
And she is sitting right here, ma'am.
Perfect. So why don't you step up? Your name is Ms.
Margaret Bonanni.
Mrs. Bonanni. You decided to move back to Illinois, where I assume your family and
Yes, ma'am.
your family is. Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
And they're all in Illinois?
Most of them.
These people were good to you, I assume, which is why
Very
you
good.
decided to leave them some property.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a list of that property?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Can I see?
As best we can remember. And I suspect there was more there, but I don't know that for a fact.
Oh, it's a laundry list of stuff. Now, my question is, Mrs. Bonanni, did you, in fact, tell Junior, do you mind if I call you Junior?
That's fine.
What property you were, in fact, leaving for the Higbees?
I didn't tell him, but they all knew everything that wasn't Junior's belonged to them. After.
Just a second. How would he know that?
Oh, he knew what I left him.
Well, I know he knew what you left him because according to these papers that I see, there were certain items that he purchased from you.
Yes, ma'am.
The things that you sold, and I was sort of curious about that, the things that you sold to Junior, why didn't you just give to him?
Your Honor, he pressured me into these things.
No, what I'm asking you is not pressuring. What I'm asking you is there were certain things that had belonged to his father
Yes.
and his mother that certainly had more, if any, sentimental value for him than they did for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Why wouldn't you just give them to him?
I probably would have, Your Honor, but Junior was coming on pretty strong about things.
How strong?
He said that these were his, they belonged to him, but in the will stated otherwise.
Well, I mean, all right,
May I
I'm
interject
sort of
something?
belaboring the point.
May I interject something, ma'am,
Sure.
that may have some impact on this? Margaret had given Junior several things of significant import.
Yes, the car.
Savannah's Junior's father had purchased a car in '68, I believe it was, for his mother off the showroom floor. And he kept that '68 Pontiac in absolute perfect mint condition. Kept that in immaculate condition because it was, in effect, a shrine to his deceased. Okay. Point is, Margaret gave that to him. Margaret gave him several things. And when it came down to this, Margaret was at the point where she had given up everything to leave Illinois to come down and marry his father. Everything. Gave her house to the kids. She didn't come down with anything. What she was taking back with her to Illinois was her new start in life up there.
Just a second.
Okay.
Mr. Higbee says that when you came to marry Mr. Bonanni in 1988, 89, that you came with nothing because you gave everything to your children. Is that right?
I had a bank account, but, you know, my personal things, no,
You what?
I left all my personal items up in Illinois, yes.
For your children?
To my children.
You gave them to your children?
Yes.
You gave them to your children. Didn't sell them to your children. You gave them, you just told me, to your children. Enough said about that. I mean, I just had a problem with that. And quite frankly, Mr. and Mrs. Higbee, I've read your papers, and it seems to me that you became very involved in this intrafamily problem, and you probably shouldn't have, because you got involved with packing up, you got involved with, there were police called because of this property. On at least one occasion, there were charges of burglary filed against your wife because she went into the house on a day when he says she shouldn't have been in the house.
And dismissed.
Well, Mr. Higbee, you seem like a very nice man.
Thank you.
You did a very dumb thing.
Helping a friend?
Well, you were not only helping a friend, but you were helping a friend in a situation where you knew there was going to be a problem. And if you were smart, you would have said to her, listen, instead of us helping you, you have adult children, I really want to do as much as I can for you, but we don't want to get involved in this intra-family dispute. We are not family. And you were not.
Mm-hmm.
And you were not. And she has grown children.
One of which came down to help us. Her son did arrive
Then
to help
her
us.
son should have had all the dealings with this, not you, because at least he had some sort of an interest in this stuff. And I'm just looking at these things, that this list, this laundry list of stuff. I'm going to go over some of it, but you know, some of it is ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tomato cages.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me a break. I'm not wasting precious court time on
Fine.
things like 2 doormats.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. George and Johanna Higbee say they did a lot for Silvano Bonanni's late father and were promised they could take possessions left by him. Silvano says they belong to the family.
A large snowman. What is that? What is that?
It's a plastic lawn decoration or...
Ridiculous. I mean, is that what
Fine.
you're here for?
No,
A
ma'am.
large
No, ma'am.
Santa.
No, ma'am. I'm
Same
here
thing?
because he did not, in fact, live up to his part of the bargain. That he would take over the property and use the power of attorney that he used on the 1st of August.
Just a second. Just a minute. She's in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
She's got all of the stuff that she wants in Illinois already, because you packed it up in the U-Haul.
This
But
is
it's
true.
still there.
It's true.
Of course it's true.
Or I'm on my way, as a matter of fact.
Whatever. She's
Right,
got all the
right.
stuff she wants in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, it's very simple. You're in Illinois with all your stuff. Does it make any difference if Junior went in there on the 27th or the 28th or the 29th? Not to you.
Well, it wouldn't have made a difference, Your Honor, if he hadn't touched my friend's stuff that I had given them.
That's what I'm saying. So the only people it made a difference to going in prior to August 1st were the plaintiffs, because there were some things there that you say were left if you wanted them. And
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
reading the list over. Let's finish. We finished with the snowman and the large Santa Claus. Car care products, a barbecue. You have a barbecue?
It's a barbecue pit.
Okay, you still have that?
I still have it.
All right, I'm making a circle around that. Canning jars. A few tools. Grass seed. Come on, folks. A dresser mirror. What is that?
It's like a vanity mirror. That was actually there. My mother purchased that in Germany.
And it wasn't something that you had purchased from your stepmother.
That is correct. I did not deliberately purchase it.
All right. Tomato cages. Was you talking about the wire things that go around?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me a break. I'm not wasting precious
Fine.
court time on
Fine.
things like 2 doormats. Tomato cages, paint, 2 garbage cans, wine glasses, 2 doormats, 2 large waste paper basket, brooms and mops, planters, dishes, bowls. Are you talking about any fancy dishes or just everyday eating dishes?
Everyday eating.
Suitcases. What kind of suitcases?
Regular suitcases, big suitcases.
That you have a use for?
I may.
Lawn furniture. You have lawn furniture?
Folding chairs.
They want them. A car carrier. What is that?
One of those luggage rack type things that goes on top of a car.
You want that?
Sure.
You have that?
It's there.
Good. 2 bug lights. Forget it. 5 or 6 packing boxes. Forget it. What's a compost bin? I'm from back
It's
east.
what
I
you
don't
put
know what a
shavings from the yard and everything. You make compost to put around your flowers. And
Right. I mean, do you buy this compost bin?
My husband did.
And how much do you pay for a compost bin?
It was around $800, sir.
Do you have that?
It's there.
Is it big thing?
It's
yes,
very
it's
big.
a huge.
It's huge.
It's a big barrel type thing.
You going to transport that?
Sure. Yes.
Mr. Banani,
Yes, ma'am.
they want to come and schlep the compost thing from your house. We're going to let them,
Okay.
right? Pieces of carpet.
All we did, ma'am, was at the court request
All
make a
right,
list of
but you don't
everything
really
on
want
there.
the piece of carpet.
Yes, we do.
You want them? Yes. You have old pieces?
No, ma'am, I threw them away.
Threw them away. 2 large pictures. What pictures?
They were paintings, Your Honor. One was in that was left in the kitchen, and one I think was down the hall. It was huge paintings.
Why didn't you want them?
They didn't have room on the truck, and I said, anything you don't have room on the truck is yours to decide if you want it.
What paintings is she talking about?
These are oil paintings that were purchased in Germany by my mother and father. Actually, in that particular situation, my mother died. Half of those items went to my sisters and I. So,
Just a second. Are these oil paintings?
yes, they are.
That were there when you arrived?
Yes.
As well as that dresser mirror also. That was there when she arrived also.
That was there.
That was there. Is that an ornate thing that...
No, not really.
Why didn't you want it?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Well, let me ask you this question. If you didn't like it, and if you had no use for these paintings that were there before, why didn't you give them to Junior instead of giving them to strangers?
I would, Your Honor, if we had had a better relationship.
It wasn't your relationship that was important.
I
You
don't
shouldn't think
ever
that.
remember him and his father having a good relationship, Your Honor.
You weren't there very long.
Well,
You weren't there very long. Video. What's a video?
It was a video that you gave me. I can't remember the name of it.
Twister. It was a video of the movie Twister.
It was just something I didn't pick up.
Shh. You have that?
No, I don't.
I don't know what you mean by hardware. If you have canning jars, do you have canning jars there?
There's a large cabinet full. Yeah.
Large cabinet full of canning jars. They want them.
Okay.
And they're going to make arrangements to pick up all that stuff. Now, I don't know what you're talking about. Paint?
Just leftover cans of
It was
paint.
in gallons of paint.
Yeah. In the wines, in champagnes.
You have that stuff?
That's her.
The wines and champagnes?
Yes.
Fine. So, we have the wines, the champagnes, we have some paint, barbecue pit, lawn chairs, car carrier, compost bin, and if you find Twister, throw it in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
No, listen to yourself, Mr. Higbee. She called the police.
Right.
She called the police. This side got the police involved.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. The Higbees are suing their late friend's son, Silvano Bonanni, for possessions promised to them for helping out.
What do you think about that?
90% of what was left there, Your Honor, we didn't even get a chance to go over it and see what it was. So all those kinds of things I would have gone through, and some amount of that, Your Honor, we would have left for Junior had he not started this whole thing by charging my wife with breaking and entering, having policemen come out to the house and fingerprint her for an absurd claim.
Well, did your wife go into the house? Did she break into the house?
At Mrs. Bonanni's request.
Just a second.
Yes.
Just a second.
Yes. With the Bexar County Sheriff.
Just a second.
Okay.
She actually, he had changed the locks, changed the garage opener, and according to these papers, she pried open a door, which caused some damage, and went into the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now you say, with Mrs. Bonanni's permission. Mrs. Bonanni's in Illinois with her children.
But had paid the mortgage and told Junior he was not to be in the house until the 1st. Our charge was to go up there, finish going through everything that was left, take what we wanted, clean the house, prepare it for giving it to him the 1st of August. And we had planned to do all that. So it's a little different than breaking and entering the way you think of a B&E.
I understand that this was a terribly unfortunate circumstance. Bottom line is, Mr. Bonanni Jr. over here could not have been heard to complain if when he moved in there on either August 1st or July 27th that the house was dirty. So the reason that you went there was to go through the things to see what things you wanted. That's the only reason, not to clean the house for Junior. I mean, let's forget clean the house for Junior. You went there to see.
Okay, but that's what we would have done.
That's what you were going in there for. And the reason you called the police to get in there was because you wanted to see what had been left for you. And what I'm suggesting to you is, at that point, instead of calling police and getting involved, whatever junk was left there for you, you know, tomato cages, grass seed, brooms and mops.
A wine collection, several things.
Whatever it wasn't worth getting the police involved.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
So we did not. We did not. He called the police, not us. He filed the complaint.
No. Listen to yourself, Mr. Higbee. And I'm not saying Junior's a nice person, a good person, anything. I'm not suggesting that he's an angel. Your wife called her in Illinois. She called the police.
Right.
She called the police. This side got the police involved first.
And this could have been avoided if I can interject one more thing. The night that the detective called us and said, case dismissed, there is no breaking and entering, there is no theft, there is no anything, I called Junior and spoke to him and said, why don't we just come up there, get what we need, you can apologize to my wife, and that's that. He refused.
I refused to apologize.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
This is a good lesson for everybody who's got things, what can happen after you're not here any longer, and why people have to make very careful provisions for what happens to their property.
He did take proper care, ma'am, in his last will and testament.
I understand what the will says. What I'm telling you, Mr. Higbee, is I assume that Mr. Bonanni felt that anything that he was leaving to his wife, she wanted. She didn't want these things. And what's sticking in him over here, and I quite frankly understand it, is that she would prefer to give it to strangers than to have...
Not strangers.
You are strangers to him. You were a stranger to his mother. So what I'm saying to you, I mean, you still think you're right. And there's nothing that I'm going to do that's going to suggest to you that you're not right. They're discarded things that she didn't want, and things that she didn't want, which may have some sentimental value for him. And I ain't talking about the garbage cans. Should go to his children, not to strangers. This is a short-term marriage where Mrs. Bonanni gave everything she owned to her children. Goodbye, folks. I've had enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Parties on Luder versus Levy. Step forward, please.
Real estate agent Carola Luder is suing her former roommate, agent Linda Levy, for taking over a lease of her Mercedes and not paying for it.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Luder versus Levy. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
According to these papers, you two had an acquaintance, co-workers or something. Is that right?
Correct.
And there came a time when you were interested in purchasing a new car. You had a 1992 Mercedes that was on a lease.
Correct.
And the defendant, according to your papers, wanted to take over the lease on your car.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct. I tried to.
And she filled out all the papers to take over your lease?
Yes.
But her papers were rejected because she had bad credit.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
But she took the car anyway. You drove it.
Right.
And you had what I consider, reading through all this stuff, a private agreement that you would pay the monthly lease on the car.
Right.
Until such time as you fixed up your credit or could buy it. Is that right?
That's right.
So far correct?
Correct.
And how long did you have the car?
From October to July 10th.
And you paid the lease on the car, but according to you, the lease payments were made late.
Yes, they were.
So what did you do?
Well, if I may back up a little bit, I was not aware initially that Ms. Levy had a tax lien on her credit, which would prevent her from obtaining a lease.
But you were aware of that when you gave her the car?
No, I was not aware of that.
Give me a time frame. October is when this arrangement was made, but then you were notified at some point that you couldn't take over the lease because she had bad credit. What month was that?
On October 6th, there was an application sent by Ms. Levy to Mercedes-Benz asking to assume the lease.
Okay, when were you notified that that was denied?
Within a week or 10 days.
So then you had options at that time?
Yes, we had another option.
And what was the other option?
We went to El Dorado Bank, and I was willing to co-sign for her to purchase the car. That was also denied.
So still, you had an option.
Exactly.
Ms. Lorder. Your option was to say, I'm sorry, give me back my car. I have to find somebody who can actually take over this lease or purchase it, right?
Yes.
Of course. You opted to let her use the car as long as she would pay the lease.
On time.
On time, but it was within a relatively short window that you knew that she could not take over the lease.
Correct.
And that you were taking a risk, that these other people were not prepared to take a risk with her, right?
Correct.
You took the risk.
I took the risk.
But the payments, according to you, were made late. So then there came a time in July when you told her, when you had a conversation with her and told her to either clear it up, lease the car, buy the car, or, according to you, return it.
Exactly. I no longer trusted her, and my credit was at risk. She disappeared, and I knew from her daughter that she may be moving back east, and I didn't want to take the risk of having my car disappear across the states.
Okay, that's reasonable, but you gave her the option.
Yes, I gave her the option.
You gave her the option. You gave her the option to either assume the lease, purchase the car, or return it to me, according to your statement.
Right.
So she returned it to you?
Eventually, yes.
Okay, she returned it on the 10th of July.
Correct.
Had she paid June?
Yes.
Okay. You're suing her for $5,000?
Correct.
For what?
I have copies of all the damages here, spelled out exactly. And initially, as I purchased my new car, I had the option at that point of trading in the Mercedes, and I would have been rid of the problem. Linda insisted on having the car. She says, I need it for real estate. It shows better than a Toyota, and it gives me a better image. And again, because she's a friend and I trusted her, I let her pursue it. So now I'm out. The lease payment for July was not made, although she initially indicated it was.
Well, the lease payment for July, she absolutely owes you. And how much is the lease payment for July?
$375.86.
Okay. What else? What were the damages on the car that were not ordinary wear and tear?
That were not ordinary wear and tear? There were none.
None?
No.
Okay. So that's July's payment you owe her. Do you understand that?
I don't believe that I should, because she did not give me any options. She said, you moved out, I don't trust you anymore, I want my car back, and that was it.
Listen, she had no longer a mechanism for getting in touch with you easily.
We worked in the same office, Your Honor.
Were you moving? Were you in the process of moving?
No. No, I moved out from her house after she lit into me about my personal life. And then I just moved. And then when she came home, I was gone, and then she thought she was mad because I left. She wanted money. She's a total gold digger. She wanted money.
Well, I don't think she's a total gold digger. I'm going to get to the rent in a second. In any event, you returned the car July 10th. So you drove it for 10 days in July, making it relatively impossible for her to get somebody else to purchase this car for July. She sort of stuck with it. So you're going to pay $375.86. That was her car payment for July. Part of your problem is, once you knew that she had bad credit, bad enough credit so that nobody would allow her to either assume the lease or to purchase the car, you should have said, I want the car back. I'm going to take care of it myself. Then you have to deal with it. Let's get to the rent. You were good enough friends when you had to move out of your home and rent it because you didn't have money. You asked if you could live with her for a month.
She told me to come and live with her, and then every month she gave me bills on phone, utilities, watering her lawn, everything. And most of the time there was like 5 people in the house. And
she allowed you to come to live in her house?
Sleep in her dog's room with 3 dogs, which was fine. I was happy to do that. I did everything I could for her to help her with her business and everything.
Listen.
And she just totally just used me. She couldn't sell the car. That's why she wanted me to take the lease over.
Listen, nobody twisted your arm to take the car, right?
Well, she did. She wanted to buy another car, Your Honor.
Oh.
And I was right there to just take over all the bills. I paid everything on the car, everything. And she knew that I couldn't get the loan.
Are you serious with me? Are you telling me that you were forced to take this car?
No.
All right. And she didn't force you, go and drag you from your house and say, you have to come and live with me? I don't care if you slept with 3 dogs, 2 parakeets, and a partridge. She gave you a place to stay when you were forced because of financial reasons to rent your house in order to survive.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was buying clothes and jewelry, obtaining a cell phone, going out for dinners.
So then you said either pay me or leave.
And later today,
You found the rollerblade that he left outside.
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
I put it in the trash.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carla Luder says her former roommate, Linda Levy, took over the lease of her Mercedes, then couldn't pay for it. She says Linda also owes her for living with her. Linda says she wasn't renting a place from her, she was renting the Mercedes.
All right, let's hear, Ms. Lauder. Did you discuss rent?
Initially, when she needed a place to stay, I offered, because she had nowhere to go. She has no family out here. Said, we're welcome to come in and stay for a month until you find adequate rental for yourself. When I came back from vacation and she had not found adequate housing, she said, you know, I'm really stuck. I don't have a place. I want to thank you for giving me a roof over my head. I appreciate everything that you're doing. And I said, well, I think it's only fair that you pay a third of the utilities. I have a tenant downstairs, a single lady, who pays a third. And I asked Linda to pay a third. She agreed to that. And I said, when you have the $200, pay it to me as a rent, when you can afford it. So now she came to money because she was buying clothes and jewelry, obtaining a cell phone, going out for dinners. Then I confronted her and I said, wait a minute, if you could do all this, you can afford to pay me $200 a month. Well, next week she moved out without a word, no forwarding address, no note, no nothing.
Okay. So, Ms. Lauder,
Your Honor, I did leave a note, and I left $200 check, and I have some of the things that I paid, receipts that I paid.
You left a $200 check for what?
Just for any phone bills for the last month or utilities that I may have owed her. Because I felt
Did
that
she leave you
was
$200 check?
Yeah, it was a post-dated $200 check, which I applied to all of this already.
Okay. All right, let's take care of the rent part. Did you say that you would take care of the third of the utilities? I assume that you did because you were taking care of the third of the utilities. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to the rent, it seems to me like you were a nice lady. So I'm going to give you some advice. You don't say to somebody, pay me $200 rent when you can afford it. Because then what you're asking a court to do is to decide whether she can in fact afford to pay you $200. And no court in this land, if they have other things to do, are going to sit down, go over her bills, her expenses, whatever else she had, and say, well, she really could afford $200, maybe she could afford $150. Nobody's going to do that, which is why that's not the way people rent rooms or rent apartments. So this was not a contract. This was a contract for something that may or may not happen, i.e., when you can afford it. Do you understand? But I find that there was actually an agreement to pay 1/3 of the utilities. Now, how much were the utilities for the months she lived there?
What's still owing is $210.53.
And that's giving her credit for the $200 that she left you.
No, I applied that towards the rent.
No, strike rent.
Strike rent.
Yes. So she doesn't owe you
pay to
anything.
be nice, does it?
What?
I said it doesn't pay to be nice.
No, it pays if you're supposed to be nice. People are supposed to be nice, but you're also supposed to be smart.
I know. Well,
and it seems like you're a smart lady, but you can't say to somebody, pay me rent when you can afford it. There'll be some people who say, I can never afford it.
She kept telling me she had no money, but then she could go out and buy clothes and jewelry and a cell phone and go out for dinners all the time.
So then you got angry because you say, well, you say you can't afford to pay rent, but you can afford to do other things, therefore,
pay me.
Go either pay me or leave.
That's what I did. I didn't tell her to leave, but I asked her to pay me.
You said pay me, so she decided to leave.
Right.
You look like a very nice, smart lady. You made a mistake.
Yes.
But you can't always be compensated for mistakes. Courts don't compensate you for mistakes. It was an error in judgment. Once you were told she had bad credit, you shouldn't have given her the car. And once you saw that she was staying beyond the month, you should have said to her, you have to pay rent starting the first of the month. Do something. Anybody can pay $200 in rent, especially when you're paying $300 and some odd for a car.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $375.86. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's such a control freak that she just had to always get in my face about my life and me, and you know, she just liked to control everybody and have them do everything for her. She just wanted to use people.
It was unfortunate that, you know, things had to turn out between Linda and I the way they did. She was a good friend and a co-worker, and I just feel sorry for her.
And now the next case.
Parties on Henderson versus Heredia. Step forward, please.
Joseph and Gina Henderson say Leonard Heredia's 9-year-old son, Zoran, threw the Henderson sons' expensive rollerblades in the trash. They want a new pair.
You're Junior.
Yes.
What's your first name?
Derwin.
Derwin, step up here. Who is Zoran's?
Zoran, over there.
You're next to your dad. Okay. You folks are neighbors.
Yes. Yes.
You were rollerblading,
Yes.
but only on one rollerblade.
Yes.
You took off the other one and just left it, right?
Yes.
Not very responsible. And you left it outside overnight.
Yes, I did.
Why were you just rollerblading on one rollerblade?
I just thought it was fun, and I just have one rollerblade, and I push with my other foot.
Now we come to you. You found the rollerblade that he left outside.
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
I put it in the trash.
Why?
I don't know.
Is this your dad?
Yes.
Says here that he's very protective of you. Is that right, sir?
Yes, I am.
I'm not going to hurt him.
Yeah, I know. I love him.
I mean, he's cute, but I'm going to find out why he put it in the trash. You don't mind that, do you?
No.
So you put it in the trash. Did you tell anybody you put it in the trash?
No.
Did you know who it belonged to?
Yes.
You not like him?
I like him.
So what'd you put his rollerblade in the trash for? Just being mischievous, naughty? Right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your second argument is that you shouldn't pay $140 because you only threw away half the rollerblades.
Yes. Yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph and Gina Henderson say Leonard Heredia's 9-year-old son, Zoran, threw the Henderson sons' expensive rollerblades in the trash. They want a new pair.
Did your dad ask you whether or not you put the skate in the garbage?
Yes.
What'd you tell him?
Yes.
Perfect. So, your problem is that you say that they were old rollerblades and you don't want to pay the cost of new ones. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't expect them to go out and buy old rollerblades, do you?
No.
Did you buy these rollerblades new?
Yes, we did.
When?
We bought him for his last birthday. It was July
7th.
July 7th of last year.
And how much were they?
$140.
So your argument, your second argument is that you shouldn't pay $140 because you only threw away half the rollerblades.
Yes. Yes. That's.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I understand.
Now, how old are you?
9.
You do any chores around the house?
Yes.
What kind of chores do you do?
Cat box, the silverware.
Cat box. You take care of the cat box?
Yeah.
That's a pretty nasty job. Seems to me maybe he's going to want to keep you on cat box duty for an extra year. You have brothers and sisters?
Brother.
How old is your brother?
8.
Well, maybe when he's 9, he'll get the cat box to take care of. I haven't asked you anything. Is there anything that you want to tell me?
Well, I do want to mention one thing. While we're here, I tried working out our problems between the two kids. Right now, Junior's not allowed to play with Zoran, and I think that had a lot to do with the.
Who said so?
I did.
Why?
When we first moved into the building, for the first couple of years, they played together, and you know, I thought they played like kids, and they played happily as kids. But a couple of times there was confrontations, and Junior and Zoran were out there, and Mr. Rutherfield, like, he has to come out there and, you know, handle childhood play. And a couple of times he knocked Junior down to the ground, and that's why
father
they don't.
did.
Yeah, the father.
You can't do that, sir.
I understand.
You
that.
can't come to his defense all the time, sir. You've got to step back as a parent. Evidently, he's done some wrong things, right?
Yes.
This clearly was a wrong thing. And I have a feeling, based upon the statements that I read, that he's done a couple of other little things that aren't right in the complex where you live. Is that right? You know? Like, give me an example of what you've done in the complex that wasn't right.
Fight with him.
Why do you fight with him?
I don't know.
Is he a nice boy? Did he ever do anything to hurt you?
No.
Do you have any other problems in school?
No.
Just with him? Or with some other people too?
Some other kid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Well, it's just too bad that two young boys who live in the same complex can't play together. And if they can't play together because you interfere, sir,
yes, ma'am,
that's a big mistake. Is this the younger brother? Get ready for cat box duty. In any event, this lawsuit is relatively easy. You paid $140 for the skates. I'm sure you have a bill for me.
Yes, I do.
Can I just see it for a moment? Always impresses me when people keep these receipts. Really. People are so organized. All right, $140.71. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no excuse. You may step out. I'll be back up to you right now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Boyfriend over here's got all of his jewelry in the car. I don't want to leave it on the freeway.
But leave it they did, and now blame her uncle because the car broke down. Judge Judy Justice.
অবশ্যই ভিডিওটা পরবর্তীতে বলবো না